keyboard. And yes, for those who are new, who may not know this, he told me point blank he does not do radio, and was not. I've spoken to him. He is not interested in ever doing radio, and especially not with me. And yet, last year I heard him on NPR.
Did you ask him why?
He wouldn't. He would not get specific. He other than he doesn't do radio, and yet
unless it's NPR, of course.
Unless it's NPR, and he can control the narrative. So
of course, yeah. And he knows he's going to get softballs. So he's going to get the underhand wiffle ball at NPR. So of course. Yeah.
And yes, I did contact NPR. I did give him the number.
Doesn't sound too
of the
super
show.
to me.
I'm sorry.
It doesn't sound too super to me.
Well, I contacted NPR and told them what I do. I host a radio show. I also I have helped people with the IRS, been very successful, and I have documented proof on the website. And I would like to get a little more backstory on Dan Evans.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm. On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadavi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
You're 6 minutes away from a live episode of Free Talk Live, brought to you by freekeen.com. Listen live at freetalklive.com.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Saturday, May 27th, 2017. Silver is trading at $17.35 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,267 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 1.8 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $2,046. Antiwar.com reports the civilian death toll of U.S. airstrikes in and around the eastern Syrian town of Mayadeen continues to mount precipitously, with the most recent figures out of the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights confirming over 100 civilians killed on Friday alone. That does not include the 35 civilians killed on Thursday. The Pentagon finally confirmed that they had carried out 2 days of airstrikes against Mayadeen, but that they had yet to assess the results. Reports from the area suggest more or less everyone killed was a civilian, including more than 40 children. The most recent targets have centered around the town's municipal government building, where large numbers of civilians, mostly family members of fighters of the Islamic State, had sought refuge. Indications are that around 80 of the 100 killed in the most recent strikes were family members of the Islamic State fighters. It's unclear why Mayadeen specifically had become the target in the last few days, as most U.S. airstrikes are meant to assist the advances of Kurdish fighters around Raqqa, and while the town is indeed not very far from Raqqa, there is no indication that the Kurds are advancing anywhere near that area. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. UPI reports a federal judge in New York City assessed a $247 million penalty against UPS for illegally shipping cigarettes. Federal District Court Judge Catherine B. Forrest said in a 218-page decision on Thursday that the practice of shipping hundreds of thousands of cartons of untaxed cigarettes between Indian reservations, unlicensed dealers, and customers in private residences in New York State cost the state of New York and New York City millions of dollars in taxes. Forrest said that UPS also violated a 2005 agreement with the state in which the shipping company agreed not to deliver cigarettes to unlicensed recipients. The ruling in the lawsuit, filed in 2015, awards $165.8 million to New York State and $81.2 million to New York City. UPS said it would appeal the decision. New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, who has made the health effects of cigarette smoking a target, said in court testimony in September that the UPS's actions disproportionately attracted young people to cigarette smoking by lowering costs and weakened the state's anti-smoking efforts. UPS lawyer Carrie Cohen argued in court that the city and state mistook cartons of little cigars for cigarettes, adding that the company is in full compliance with the law. After hearing the judge's decision, Cohen said the award was a ridiculously high number. Forrest said a very significant award was necessary because of the dangers of smoking, and that the court is convinced that modest penalties would not make a significant corporate impact on UPS. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports a federal judge on Friday tossed out life prison terms for one of the two men convicted in a deadly Washington, D.C. area shooting spree, saying he must be resentenced in light of a U.S. Supreme Court ruling. Lee Boyd Malveaux was one of the two men found guilty in a series of sniper shootings in the fall of 2002 that killed 10 people, wounded 3, and left residents of Washington, D.C. suburbs traumatized. His co-defendant, John Allen Muhammad, was sentenced to death and executed in 2009. Malveaux, who was 17 at the time of the shooting, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In 2012, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled such sentences were unconstitutional for juveniles and later found that the rulings should be applied retroactively. U.S. District Judge Raymond Jackson cited the Supreme Court decision in ordering that Malveaux be resentenced. The ruling does not affect Malveaux's convictions or the 6 life sentences he was given in Maryland, although his attorneys will be appealing those as well. In the years following his conviction, Malveaux said he was sexually abused by John Allen Muhammad from the age of 15 until the time they embarked on the shooting spree from inside a blue Chevy Caprice. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
Shortly after creating a profile on OkCupid.com, local man Malcolm Lighty, a person with severe psychological and emotional issues, told reporters he thought it was best to just never mention the fact there was something seriously wrong with him on the popular dating website.
The thing about online dating is you don't want to get too personal too quickly. Like, for example, how I'm a textbook narcissist with unresolved intimacy issues, or the fact that I have no sense of empathy. Nobody wants to hear about that. When you're making a first impression, it's important that you keep it casual and don't include too much information. You don't want to be talking about your inability to maintain a relationship because of a history of violent mood swings.
Lighty told reporters while his OkCupid profile includes extensive details about his favorite movies, love of cooking, and interest in cars, he thought he was, quote, just better off not mentioning the borderline personality disorder that makes it impossible for him to connect with another person on any kind of meaningful level.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You dial toll free and you join us here. Bring up whatever you want on this live Saturday edition of the show. With you tonight, it's Ian
and Mark.
The toll-free number, if you want to join us, is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And we have Skype as well. You can Skype on in here at username lrn.fm. So, Mark, you've been wanting to talk about the speed limit for a while, all of them. And you brought a story in from QZ.com.
Yeah, I read a great story on the speed limit, and I think that it bears asking some questions. We all follow these white signs all over the place.
No, we don't.
Well, okay. We all look at these white signs all over the place. We presume that someone has done some kind of study to...
All right, they brought an engineer out here, and he looked at the curvature of the road and figured that you can't go faster than X speed safely.
Something. And
wait, you're telling me it was all arbitrarily selected by politicians?
Yeah, and I think
bureaucrats?
It has a lot to do with people in their neighborhoods too. Everybody wants to go fast, and everybody wants you to go slow in their neighborhood. If that makes sense.
Well, the children.
The children! As though we live in 1937 and people are playing stickball in the middle of the street.
Kids still go, every now and then you'll still see some kid out playing like catch with his dad or something like that.
Yeah, and you should be careful on residential streets in case that's occurring. There's no doubt about it.
Most of the time the kids are inside on some electronic device these days, but every now and then you'll see it happen.
I understand, and I completely get it, but at the same time, I want to know that there is some science behind a speed limit, and best I can tell, there's not.
So the story here from Quartz, and they're actually citing a site called Priceonomics. Alex Mayasi reporting when Lieutenant Gary Meggie of the Michigan State Police attends a meeting, he sometimes asks, "How many of you broke the speed limit on your way here?" Hearing his question, you might assume that Lieutenant Meggie is a particularly zealous police officer, the type of person who walks half a city block to avoid jaywalking on an empty street, the model citizen who defers almost obnoxiously to the letter of the law. But that is not the point of his question.
So I think that's also worth pointing out. Now, I came here, and although I am pretty good about following the speed limit, when you're transitioning, say, from a 55 to a 35 or something like that, oftentimes I have not slowed all the way down to 35 by the time I pass that 35-mile-an-hour sign. And I presume that's when you're supposed to start slowing down, not when you're supposed to have slowed down.
Oh, I thought you were supposed to have slowed down by that point.
Oh, no, you are. Absolutely. But,
Okay.
it just you get a feel for an area. You kind of have an idea of how fast you should be going in a given location. I'm willing to defer, 35 miles an hour. It seems a little slow in some places, but I'll do it.
Yeah.
Fine. But, like that transition. I sped on the way here simply because of the transitions between speed limits.
Well, I think most people just speed as a matter of course. It is just the
a lot of people do.
thing to do. You can usually get away. Most people know you can get away with usually, 5 miles an hour over. That most cops aren't going to mess with you.
I've always heard 9.
Okay.
There's these cells that they break out the speed limits, and the 10,
based on how much you go over, they get you into different areas of a penalty.
Right, 10 to 15 is a bigger penalty than 5 to 9.
So again, the cop asks when he goes to meetings, "How many of you broke the speed limit on the way here?" He says to Quartz or Priceonomics, quote, "We all speed, yet months and months usually pass between us seeing a crash. That tells me that most of us are adequate, safe, reasonable drivers. Speeding and traffic safety have a small correlation."
Can't tell you the last time. An accident that was my fault. I can't think of one since high school.
I've never had one that was my fault, thank goodness. Over the past 12 years, Lieutenant Meggie has increased the speed limit on nearly 400 of Michigan's roadways. Each time, he or one of his officers hears from community groups who complain that people already drive too fast. But it's
the community group. It's the people talking about a specific area. Usually, they try to get people to slow down in a zone or two. They'll toss in a speed bump or put in a traffic calming measure or something like that.
But as Meggie and his colleague explain, their intent is not to reduce congestion bow to the reality that everyone drives too fast, or even strike a balance between safety concerns and drivers' desire to arrive at their destinations faster. Quite the opposite. Lieutenant Meggie advocates for raising speed limits because he believes it makes roads safer. Every year, traffic engineers review the speed limit on thousands of stretches of road and highway. Most are reviewed by a member of the state's Department of Transportation, often along with a member of the state police, as is the case in Michigan. In each case, the survey team has a clear approach. They want to set the speed limit so that 15% of drivers exceed it and 85% of drivers drive at or below the speed limit.
Well, that isn't happening.
Yeah. This nationally recognized method of setting the speed limit as the 85th percentile speed is essentially traffic engineering 101. It's also a bit perplexing to those unfamiliar with the concept. Shouldn't everyone drive at or below the speed limit? And if a driver's speed is dictated by the speed limit, how can you decide whether or not to change that limit based on the speed of traffic? The answer lies in realizing that the speed limit really is just a number on a sign, and it has very little influence on how fast people drive. He says, over the years, I've done many follow-up studies after we raise or lower a speed limit. Almost every time, the 85th percentile speed doesn't change, or if it does, it's by about 2 or 3 miles per hour. As most honest drivers would probably concede, this means that if the speed limit on a highway decreases from 65 to 55, most drivers will not drive 10 miles per hour slower.
Yeah, when I'm out on the interstate and I see a 55-mile-an-hour zone, I'll say that it raises a level of caution in me, but it mostly raises a level of annoyance. 55 miles an hour on an interstate is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, a lot of times you see that in a construction zone.
Yeah, yep, that's true.
I mean, most of the time they don't bring it down.
Probably should slow down when they have those big concrete barricades right next to your rear view mirror, sure.
For the majority of drivers, the opposite is also true. If a survey team increases the speed limit by 10 miles an hour, the speed of traffic will not shoot up 10 miles an hour. It will stay around the same. That doesn't make sense. Really? People won't increase their speed?
People are going 80 on the interstate already. So if you were to raise the mile an hour to 80, that's...
Oh, I see what he's saying. So he's saying those who are already speeding won't increase their speed another 10 miles an hour because they're already speeding at the level they feel is comfortable?
They're driving at the speed that they're comfortable at.
I see. It'll stay around the same, he says. Years of observing traffic has shown engineers that as long as the cop car's not in sight, most people simply drive at whatever speed they like. And that's absolutely true. And that's just shows that people are able to make decisions for themselves. They don't need to be told what to do. They know based on the circumstances what the right speed appears to be, based on the weather and the traffic patterns.
I like to get in front of police officers and go the speed limit. I mean, there's
you think
nothing
that bothers them?
Oh, I'm sure it does. I've had them pass me.
Yeah, that's the idea. Get them around you, right?
Well, no, I want to go the speed limit. You need to see what this is like, pal. I'm setting the cruise control right here at this speed so you know what it's like. Because many of them can be all pompous, and I've been stopped a few times for speeding. There's no doubt. I don't think there's anybody who's drove for a period of time and hasn't. And the pomposity of these people, and it's like, oh, do you know that this is a 35-mile-an-hour zone? Yeah, but... God, have you tried driving 35 through here? It's ridiculous.
So knowing this, and there's more to the story, a lot more to it actually, but knowing that people just sort of drive as they wish, generally, unless there's a cop nearby, it makes me wonder: was the speed limit created with good intentions by well-meaning politicians, or was it created with the intention of revenue generation for the state? Because ultimately that's what it turns into, right? That's what the speed limit is. It's not about safety as much as it is about, oh, there's someone we can give a $200 ticket to.
Right. It's a line item for municipalities and state governments. They will look at that. They expect a certain amount of revenue from tickets. And they're counting on it because they know that people are going to speed and that they've got people out there to catch them speeding. That's their job. They're revenue generators. They're fundraisers with guns.
Now, wasn't there was it Montana that had no speed limits? What was the state?
During the daytime, Montana had no speed limit. That's correct. I went 95 in Montana in my white van, old Ford Econoline van.
And there was no real evidence that did anything to increase danger, right? More coming up here, 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733.
Warning, if you've recently declared bankruptcy, you're going to want to cover your ears. because there's an alternative to bankruptcy, and it could be better than you'd ever think possible. But if you've already declared bankruptcy and have missed this opportunity, you'll want to cover your ears now. Here it is. Right now, the company that has resolved more credit card debt than anyone in the U.S. may be able to settle your debt, too. You could resolve your debt with one low monthly program payment. If you call right now and qualify, Freedom Debt Relief will show you how low your monthly program payment could be for free. Call now, 1-800-660-1581. That's 1-800-660-1581. If you're struggling with debt, this could be your answer. And the bigger your debt, the more money you could save. To find out for free how much of your hard-earned money Freedom Debt Relief could help you save, call now. 1-800-660-1581. 1-800-660-1581. 1-800-660-1581.
Hi there, I'm Bob Eubanks. You know, as part of Hollywood for a long time, I've seen my fair share of celebrities get in trouble with the IRS. Well, there's one name I trust, the Tax Defense Group. They're the most trusted name in tax. So if you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS, you really need to call my friends at the Tax Defense Group. Ignoring the IRS is not the solution. They can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts, seize your home or business. But the Tax Defense Group could put a stop to all of that and tailor a program that would reduce your tax debt to pennies on the dollar. You gotta love that. So don't just take my word for it. Call them. Find out for yourself. They offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. And they're open 24 hours a day because they know that tax debt doesn't sleep either.
Call now for your free and confidential tax analysis from the most trusted name in tax. Call 800-361-6907. 800-361-6907.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio-on-demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. Press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message. What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveitpurse.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
You can take control of the airwaves here on Free Talk Live. It is the live Saturday edition. Our toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. You're certainly also welcome to comment on the speed limit. There's one cop, according to QZ.com from the Michigan State Police, who says that speed limits are basically BS and they are set too low. We're going to get into that coming up a little bit further.
And that it's safer to have them set higher.
Right, and we'll get into more detail on that, but of course you're welcome to comment. We're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts here. We also have Skype at Skype username LRN.FM. It's Ian and Mark in the studio for the live Saturday edition. If you want to reach people with the ideas of liberty, then do it from the back of your car while you're speeding with libertystickers.com. You can reach thousands of people with a bumper sticker, and you know that people love to read them, although it's usually more effective when you're stopped at a stoplight. But you can check out the vast selection of witty, poignant, pithy, and downright bombastic liberty-oriented messages at libertystickers.com. As we go to the phones, to the fun, starting out with Patrick in Norfolk, Virginia, listening to WNIS. Hello, Patrick.
How you guys doing tonight?
Hey, what's on your mind?
Oh man, I'm concerned about these guys. What some of these voters get, during the holidays, let's get tanked up and stuff like that.
You're concerned about the boaters? Is that what you said, the boaters?
Yeah, there ain't no speed limit on that water.
Actually, there is, isn't there? I thought I've heard there is a speed limit on the water.
It depends on which water you're in.
I think in some places where you're coming into, the marina or something like that, or to wherever you docked out of, something like that. But out there on the waterways, it ain't too much,
Now, Mark, you got a boat recently, so you've been during the wintertime, you went down south and you did a lot of traveling on that boat. How many places have speed limits versus don't?
He's basically right that you can go pretty much as fast as you want in as long as you're sort of in the channel and you're not near objects and that sort of thing. And I after boating for pretty much the winter on a sailboat, and it has its own speed limit. You're not going to get above 7 knots.
Sure, but if you get like a race boat or something like that.
Yeah, and I came to with a great deal of consideration. Story. I came to the conclusion that pretty much if your boat has a motor, you are probably a jerk.
Hey, you recall Sammy Hagar, I Can't Drive 55?
Great song. Patrick, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate it. The toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE like freedom. And there's a reason that one's a hit, right?
Yep. So it's etiquette on the water to slow down when you're coming close to another boat and that sort of thing.
Or you'll create a wake.
Yeah, you'll create a wake and it'll rock. And when you're talking about those monohull sailboats, we have a catamaran, but the monohull sailboats, they get sloshed all over the place by these big boats. And at least once a day, I like to get on the Channel 16 and remind everybody that it's a good idea to slow down when you're close to other people. Because I just don't think a lot of people know. You don't have to have a driver's license out there. You just get in and you have as big a motor as money can buy, and you get out there and you do whatever
interesting
you do.
that the state requires a driver's license for the roads, but it doesn't require one for the water.
Now, I do believe some states have some levels of requirements, but it's certainly not a nationwide standard.
Well, if you want to comment, you're welcome to join us here. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE like freedom. Back to the story here from QZ.com, where they're interviewing Lieutenant Gary Maggie of the Michigan State Police. And he says that, or the story here says that luckily there's some logic to the speed that people choose other than the need for speed. The speed drivers choose to go is not based on laws or street signs, but the weather, number of intersections, presence of pedestrians and curves, and all the other information that factors into the principle, as Lieutenant Maggie puts it, that, quote, no one I know who gets into their car wants to crash, unquote.
And I think that there are, there's a certain demographic, younger maybe males, maybe not males, but certainly younger people. I think they're a little more loose with their speed limit, and they're a bit more reckless. So I'm going to say
teenage drivers are known for that, sure. Yeah. But even males in their early 20s or something like that might be more likely to get a muscle car and take it as fast as they can.
In European countries, you can not drive until you're 18, but you can drink when you're 16 in many cases.
Or younger.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to the story here. He says that, or rather, if drivers disregard speed limits, why bother trying to set the right speed limit at all, asks QZ. One reason is that a minority of drivers do follow the speed limit. He says, quote, I've found that about 10% of drivers truly identify the speed limit sign and drive at or near that limit. 10%. This is a lieutenant who analyzes these things in the Michigan State Police. Since these are the slowest share of drivers, they don't affect the 85th percentile speed, but they do impact the average speed by about 2 or 3 miles an hour, when a speed limit is changed. And in his experience, Lieutenant Maggie's experience, and more importantly, the variance in driving speeds. This is important because, as noted in a U.S. Department of Transportation report, quote, the potential for being involved in an accident is highest when traveling at speed much lower or much higher than the majority of motorists.
Yep. So I go the speed limit when I'm on sort of local roads, state roads, and those sorts of things, because I don't want to get a ticket. I don't want to have to sit and listen to this guy talk about how, oh my God, you're going too fast. I can't believe it. I just don't want to listen to it. I've heard that enough in my life, and I don't want to hear it anymore. However, when I get on the interstate, I know who the dangerous people are. The dangerous people are going the speed limit on the interstate. They're creating bottlenecks. Also, when cops go, then everybody slows down. And like everything gets weird when there's a state trooper going down the left lane.
And then you get the extra added danger of people rubbernecking. So if the cop's on the side of the road or pulled somebody over, everybody's got to look.
Well, that's what the lights are for, right?
Makes things even more dangerous.
Those lights are intended to catch your attention. Now, I'm a volunteer firefighter. I mean, I know why those lights are there. Those lights are to catch your attention.
Let's go to the phones to the fun. We got Gregory. He's in Anniston, Alabama, listening to WDNG. Hey, Gregory.
Yes. Tracks will put you in the lane that you want to be. If you want to speed, you get in the fast lane. They have it tracked out. Just a little hole, a little traveling hole into the pavement, into the asphalt. And if you want to speed. If you want to slow, stay in the slow lane.
It's good advice.
Yeah, I think what happens is the slow lane tends to want to pass, like people want to pass, right? So, there's somebody in the slow lane going 64, then somebody wants to go 68, so they want to pass around them. So they have to come into, in many cases on the interstate, you don't have 3 lanes, you only have 2. So they're coming into the fast lane, then the people in the fast lane, they're slowing down, creating the bottlenecks, those kind of things. That's what usually seems to happen. Plus, God knows when those truckers want to pass each other, that takes forever.
Well, we got to have a fast lane and a slow lane. That's a common way. That's a common way to handle the situation.
Well, if it weren't for the damn speed limits, all the people that were toting drugs around could go fast, and they wouldn't have to slow the traffic down. Hey, thanks for the call, Gregory. Toll-free number here tonight, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. I can't tell you that.
The smuggler's point of view here really surprised me. I never even considered it.
I can't tell you. It's not just about drug smugglers. I can't tell you the number of times where, there have been drugs in the car, and with whether a passenger or whoever, and I would like to speed, but it would be an irresponsible thing to do at that point for the good of the people in the car.
I'm glad I don't have your problems.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE, like freedom, 855-450-3733. You can take control of the airwaves. You can bring up whatever's on your mind here. Not just speeding. We got other stuff we can talk about, too. It is Free Talk Live.
The final phase of extermination is set to commence now. And as population die-off becomes evident, you know it is the time of punishment in all that is written. The cover for mass die-off is evolution and global warming frauds, also used as false proof of their Christ. They are from the lines that were disinherited 2,000 years ago. Now they claim to be his Christ based upon blood type, DNA, and long lifespan. Go to unveilingthem.com. That's UNVEILING them.com.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow, a new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends radio show. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgoristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agorist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any tomfoolery. So go with AgoristHosting.com. And if you want to get your foot in the door with decentralized marketplaces, Agorist Hosting is now offering Open Bazaar hosting. Go to AgoristHosting.com, click on the button that says Get Hosted. Agrist Hosting. That's AGORIST hosting.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Work with your doctor when taking medications. Make Protovite part of your healthy lifestyle.
HealthForLiberty.com is your source for Protovite, a powerful nutritional supplement that's a true breakthrough for your health. Poor digestion makes it nearly impossible to absorb the nutrition your body needs. Protovite is a liquid multi-nutrient formula with patent-pending absorption technology and the highest quality ingredients to nourish every cell in your body.
My name is Sandra White. 6 weeks ago, when I started taking Protovite, I was on 14 medications, from everything for blood pressure to fibromyalgia. In the first 10 days, my blood sugar dropped 50 points, and my fibromyalgia pain is gone. And so was 12 of the 14 medications that I was taking. I'm 66, living life and loving it.
Go to healthforliberty.com right now. That's healthforliberty.com.
Thank you, Protovite, for giving my life back.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You dial in toll free, bring up what you want. Our number here, 855-450-FREE, like freedom, 855-450-3733. Tonight with you, it's Ian.
And Mark.
And, of course, you can join us online anytime you want. Just go and get interactive over at freetalklive.com. Archives galore, going back for more than a decade, and so many other features for free where you can actually control the content right there on the front page of the website. Just go to freetalklive.com and get interactive.
So when you get a multivitamin from the store, you know that it's got vitamins and minerals. But that's not all that you need. You need, in many cases, bone support, enzymes, all kinds of things. And that's why I've been taking Whole Food Multi-Complete. Now, it's a multi, but it's not a multivitamin because it has so much more than a multivitamin. It's got the minerals and the vitamins, but it's got probiotics and antioxidants and herbal immune support and a whole bunch of stuff all in one product. Now, this is plant-based stuff. It's not, synthetic or anything like that. So you're getting the very best, and you're getting it all in one pill. So you're not paying $150 a month or whatever in supplements. It's so much less. Go check them out at simplifymysupplements.com. One of the things that was really great for me, and I never even expected this, is the probiotic in it and the enzymes in it balanced my digestive system to the point that I lost like 14 pounds just by doing nothing. And that's pretty awesome. You don't see that every day. I didn't even know where it went. I thought it came from a stomach bug or something, and that I didn't even know what happened. Go to simplifymysupplements.com right now. If you use coupon code FTL, you can save 30% off on your first order. Now, that's basically cost for them for this product. If you order $60 or more, you'll get free shipping. Simplifymysupplements.com. Yes, they do take Bitcoin. You just have to set that up with them via email. Simplifymysupplements.com. This is a great product, and I will continue to take it even if they don't advertise, because it's awesome.
All right, so we've been sharing with you a story from Quartz.com where they're interviewing a police officer, Michigan State Police Officer, Lieutenant, actually, Gary Maggie. And this is an officer who actually believes speed limits should be raised across the board, and because he believes that people would be more safe if we would raise the speed limits. We can talk more about that, but we're also going to your calls and thoughts. First up, Nick in Galloway, New Jersey, listening to WPG. Hey, Nick.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Yeah, especially interstate, the fast lane you should be at least be able to go 100. Because if it's 75, people are going to run 85, 90, 95 anyway. You can get killed at 40, 45 miles an hour. What the hell's the difference, you know?
Yeah, I wonder if...
the car's going to come apart at 45 or 100. It's just going to be worse of a mess. And they should have... You should be able to drive muscle cars with open headers out on the street. It should be someplace out on some county highway that's all wooded where it says, hey, beware hot rods in use, with open headers and high-octane gas at the gas station and just let them rip. I don't like going fast for a long time. Just a little more than a quarter of a mile. That's it, and then I'm getting out of it because things can happen, and that's it. It's over.
Do you think that, you said 100 miles an hour. Do you think that that's like a psychological point for a lot of people? Like that if the speed limit were 120 miles an hour, if we went from 65, 75 to 120 miles an hour, how many people would, never go higher than 100 miles an hour? Is that a psychological limit?
I don't think most people go over 80.
No, listen. You know what? You're absolutely right. Good point there. People would they would wind it out. If the car goes 140 or 160, they'll take it up. They'll top it out.
All the time?
Not most people. That's what they're saying
That's
here.
not happening on the Autobahn. I can say that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the numbers are like there. What are the average speeds? What are the typical? What are the median speeds?
It's my understanding somewhere between 80 and 85 is what
miles an hour.
Well, yeah, but I mean it had to be translated into what I understand as far as speed goes. Is what people are comfortable with.
You'll get a ticket if you're in the fast lane and you're not going at least 100 miles an hour on the Autobahn.
Nick, thanks for your call tonight.
Lane.
I appreciate it. Oops, sorry. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We got Mark. He's in Norfolk, Virginia, listening to WNIS. Hey, Mark.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, what's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, I drive a lot for my job. I go to different sites. I'm like a field engineer for a lot of these big businesses. Really, I've never gotten a speeding ticket. I got in 2 accidents last year, though, and both of them were caused by people merging. I mean, really, that's what terrifies me on the highway, are people not looking and merging into slower, faster traffic. I can't tell you, how many times I've almost been hit. But, as far as going really fast in a car, 100 miles an hour, 120, at least in my state, you have to have a safety inspection to get on the road. And a lot of these cars, they might be safe to drive at 60 miles an hour, but at 100, 120, the tires are going to fly off, the engines are going to go. It's just...
Yeah, I don't feel like a lot of cars have enough traction for 120. I don't feel like there's enough rubber on the road. I'm not comfortable with the notion of raising speed limits to 120, but I can see that when I'm out there and the speed limit on the interstate is 65, that the vast majority of people are just saying, screw that.
They're doing 80.
Yeah, they're doing 75 or 80. And that means that the speed limits aren't serving their purpose, and that means that...
Oh, yes, they are. They're serving a revenue purpose.
Well, then...
exactly.
It could be that.
I never see people get pulled over for merging, or just driving distracted.
Yeah.
And at least out here, they've raised the speed limits, I think, to 70 or 75 on the real, the highways in between the major cities. You can pretty much go up to 80, which is the minimum for reckless here. And, it's not a big deal. You're not going to get pulled over for going 75, 80, as long as it's out on the big stretches in between the cities.
Yeah, how about the merging where, like, it's one thing to merge into another lane of traffic, like when you're coming onto the interstate, for instance. It's another thing entirely, like the worst kind of merging situation for me, from my observation, having done a lot of driving, is where you've got the 3-lane interstate and you're in the left lane, somebody's in the right lane, and there's nobody in the middle lane. and then you want to merge over there, you got to make sure that person doesn't have the same idea at the exact same time, right? You got to kind of keep an eye on them as you're merging.
Watching your blind spot?
Not just the blind spot, but just whoever's over there on the, in the other lane to the two lanes to the right of you, because you don't want to merge into that person. And I've seen that almost happen on countless occasions where two people will just start merging into one another, and then somebody notices and swings their wheel over back into their lane.
This is something that a friend of my dad's taught me, and he showed my dad at the same time when I was young. Most drivers have all three of their rear view mirrors pointed at the same point behind them. But if you take the rear view, the one inside your car, the interior one, you point it sort of out the back window, and you point the other two just sort of tilt them so you can see into your blind spot a little bit better, then you're much less likely to get into a situation where you're whacking somebody with your rear end when you're merging, or that god-awful honk you get when, where did they come from? You just didn't see them.
Mark in Virginia, any other thoughts you want to share?
No, I appreciate it. I love getting to hear your guys' show away from the self-proclaimed biggest name in radio, conservative radio, whatever it is. So I appreciate it.
Who's that?
Mr. Limbaugh.
We don't even compete with him, though.
Yeah, it's a different day part.
Yeah.
I don't even know who we compete with on Saturday nights.
I
have
like
no
to listen
idea.
to him for pointers. The guy's clearly, knows something about talk radio.
Thanks, Mark.
Well,
Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it. Toll-free number tonight is 855-450. Free like freedom, 855-450-3733. When's the last time you think Rush drove himself somewhere?
I have no idea.
Because I remember when we
it
were...
certainly wasn't an rusted-out 2002 F-350, I can tell you that.
You remember when we were, I don't know, it was... a decade ago or something like that, when we were at a talk radio conference, Rush Limbaugh actually came and spoke at that talk radio conference, and he had bodyguards with him
at a talk radio convention, as though the other talk show hosts were going to
attack him
or something. It was really weird.
Yeah, I mean, this is an industry convention where you're paying, back then it was probably $400 for a ticket. So
he has these pair of menacing gorillas next to him.
And he got out of a limo, right? Like, he didn't drive himself there.
Yeah, I guess it's just all to
if
make
he's got those gorillas with him.
Yeah.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Dash is digital cash, a digital currency designed to replace cash and help people manage their own wealth. It's fast and easy, fees are low, and transactions are confirmed instantly. Pay anyone, anywhere in the world, anytime, for just pennies on the dollar. Dash is the first digital money that's governed by its users. Join Dash and help us build a better financial system for everyone. Find out more at dash.org. That's dash.org. Do you want to help build a better financial system for everyone? Join Dash. Dash is digital cash, a digital money platform designed to replace cash and help people manage their own wealth. It's fast and easy. Fees are low and transactions are confirmed instantly. Dash is decentralized, run by users who earn rewards for helping run the network and make governance decisions. Help people take control over their financial future today. Find out more at dash.org.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business. So make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
I recently signed up for one of these self-defense classes and brought along a camera crew to watch. Take a good look at this class instructor.
Thank you very much.
Boy, was he smooth. He tried to butter us up with flowery compliments like, "Good work, nice try."
Yeah.
But don't worry, folks, I wasn't letting my guard down for 1 second. Maybe he wasn't planning to attack me at all, but he could potentially plan to attack me at some point, and that left only one option: Take him out first. This is him. This is the guy. My quarry approached, and when the moment was right, I struck. I knew he'd be able to counter my every move if I just did what he had taught me, so instead, I did exactly the opposite. I beat him with a baseball bat.
I am Shelby Cross! Do not ever attack me!
Now, folks, I acknowledge that this man may have never been a threat, but a potential threat is just as dangerous as a real one. I don't play games with my life, and neither should you, and that's it.
This is the Onion News Network.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, dial toll free. Join us right here, live Saturday edition of the show. You can dial in at 855-450-FREE, like freedom. 855-450-3733 with you tonight. It's Ian.
And Mark.
We're going to go back to your phone calls and thoughts, and then more from courts from the police lieutenant in Michigan of the state police, Gary Maggie, who is saying that speed limits are pretty much set way too low, and that in order to improve safety on the roads, we should increase the speed limits. And so far, nobody's called in to say that they disagree. I mean, I'm sure there's some, goody two-shoes out there that would like to see the speed limit stay as is or be slower, but I bet we're going to have a tough time finding that person to call in tonight. So you're welcome to join us here, though, and share your thoughts. 855-450-FREE, like freedom.
It seems like people want when they're driving, they want the speed limit to be higher, and when they're in their neighborhood, they want the people to go slower through their neighborhood.
Oh, they'll put in the damn speed bumps.
Yeah. Caution, deaf child, or whatever it is that it takes to get people to slow down. I found that more signs.
I would think the deaf child would actually be better than the average child at crossing the street, because I remember
paying attention.
Right. Well, I remember when I was young, my parents really impressed it upon me that you always have to look both ways twice, at least twice, just to make sure you didn't miss something or whatever. Make sure there's not some car that's come around a corner real fast and is hurtling towards you. And so you would think that the deaf child would have had this inculcated in them, times 10.
Right.
Because you don't get the audio cue that there's something hurtling towards you. You have to pay extra close attention. But regardless, I think that it should be the people on the street's responsibility to avoid the cars. It's one of the things that was weird about moving up here to New Hampshire, where they actually have a law that requires requires cars to yield to pedestrians in crosswalks. So, whenever you go through downtown Keene, where we live, or downtown any town in New Hampshire, you always got to look out as much as possible just to see if there's a pedestrian getting ready to hit a crosswalk, because if you run through the crosswalk, then the cops could, in theory, pull you over for not yielding to the pedestrian. And what that's created is this kind of lazy mentality in the pedestrians, where half the time they just walk right on out into the street. They don't even look one way or another. It's just like they think that they're invincible and that everybody's always going to be paying the closest of attention when they're driving. And it's crazy. These people are nuts.
Yeah, I found the feeling of entitlement that a pedestrian seems to have oftentimes. It's really amazing. Like, you haven't applied your brakes at exactly the right moment I want you to. They'll wag their fist at you, and as all you see is their lips moving or whatever. Now, it's my opinion that if you obviously not every crosswalk has the little button where you get the crossing signal and all that stuff. But if you push that button, you probably should be a pregnant woman with a baby buggy or a geriatric.
Okay.
Like an adult should be able to weave their way through traffic by understanding how the lights work at a corner. That you don't need those. There might be some corner where it makes more sense than others. But
the only time that the button makes any sense is if you're at a crazy busy intersection. If it's just wall-to-wall cars rolling through there constantly and it's hard to get a break to where you can cut across to a median, then in some of those cases the button will actually stop the stop lights all around and allow the people to walk.
Well, I mean, there are at an intersection there are usually red lights, right?
Yes.
And those red lights, you understand what the traffic that they're going to stop, and then you cross with that traffic when the time comes. Now, obviously, there could be people turning right, and you want to maintain eye contact with the person who may be turning right, because you have the right of way. You are the traffic headed forward as the pedestrian, and the traffic turning right has to yield to you. So you get their eye contact with them and let them know, I'm going across here, and that way they don't do anything dumb, and then you cross. It doesn't have to stop the whole intersection for 2 minutes while the whole beep boop beep boop beep boop, the little noises or chirping birds or whatever the thing is in your neighborhood that lets deaf people or blind people, cross the street. Again, blind people should be able to push the button and get the traffic stopped.
Let's go to My Dog Rex. He's in Florida, listening online via TuneIn. Hello, My Dog Rex.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Couple of things here as far as the Walmart syndrome, where people just walk out the store and everyone's got to stop. I'm against that in the crosswalk. I mean, the people should have to yield to the cars. And then but I'm all against jaywalking and getting tackled and tased for jaywalking. So, but as far as the speed limit, don't change the signs. Just don't pull anybody over, because people, if you're doing over 120, if you ever hopped on a FZ1 and had a ball, you got to know what people are going to do a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile ahead of you.
I am not for that. Having traveled 120 miles an hour in a vehicle that I was under the control of, and this was a KZ1000, and I do not recommend this for anybody with any brains. I didn't have them. I was 18. But I got to say, it's a terrible idea.
Right, because people will change the lane for no good reason. There'll be no one on the road, and they'll just decide to change lanes on you. And you got to, if you ain't on the ball, and if you ain't practiced a lot, and with people in cars and younger kids in cars, if they got some kind of a caution in them, a sign that says 75, they'll keep it around 90, 95, and that's okay, because that gives you a little bit of time to negotiate. But if they were just to eliminate the speed limits, there'd be too many people, and pretty soon we'd run out of too many people going crazy because they'd all be gone.
They'd all be dead.
Eventually it'd be a nice clear roadway.
Well, one of the callers was claiming, and I haven't been to Germany, so I don't know, I haven't experienced this, was on the Autobahn that you basically had to go 100 miles an hour to be in the left lane, or their equivalent of left lane. I think it's the same in Europe as it is in the United States, not in England though. Well,
you have to yield to the blinking lights, but when you get into a urban zone close to the city, you got to slow back down.
Sure.
Thanks for the call tonight, My Dog Rex. I appreciate it. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733, and we do have Skype at Skype username LRN.FM. I am interested in hearing, what is the average speed. According to the website driverabroad.com, this is from Quora.com, where someone was asking about speeding on the Autobahn. The average speed on the de-restricted sections of the German Autobahn network is around 150 kilometers per hour, which is about 93 miles per hour. So when given the opportunity to do any speed they want, people are doing, on average, 93.
Yeah, if I was so twice a year we head up and down to Florida. I take my wife down there. She is she's completely against the notion of snow, so we head on down. And if I was completely unrestricted on those drives down, I would probably go 90.
Like 90?
Somewhere at 90 to maybe 95 if I was feeling really froggy. But, there's a lot of straight, flat stretches of I-95 headed southward and northward.
Toll-free number tonight, 855-450-FREE, like freedom. So back to the lieutenant here. This is, again, a state police lieutenant that QZ.com, Quartz, has a story about how he's saying that it's actually safer if we set the speed limits higher. He says if every car sets their cruise control at the same speed, the odds of a fender bender happening is low. Actually, that's the story saying that. But when some cars drive 55 and others drive 85, the odds of cars colliding increases dramatically. This is why getting slow drivers to stick to the right lane is so important to roadway safety. We generally focus on joyriders' ability to cause accidents, and rightly so, but a car driving under the speed limit in the left passing lane of the highway is almost as dangerous. Traffic engineers believe the 85th percentile speed is the ideal speed limit because it leads to the least variability between driving speeds and therefore safer roads. When the speed limit is correctly set at the 85th percentile speed, the minority of drivers that do conscientiously follow speed limits are no longer driving much slower than the speed of traffic. The choice of the 85th percentile speed is a data-driven conclusion, as noted Lieutenant Meggie, and speed limit resources like the Michigan State Police's guide that has been established by the constant findings of years of traffic studies.
Now, I know that many long-haul truckers have governors if they work for major
55
companies.
Or whatever.
55 seems really low, but they have
65, 70.
Governors on their vehicle, and they can't go above a certain speed or whatever.
And in most places, they have to stay in the right lane anyway.
The funny thing is when you'll find one that's like a 2-mile-an-hour governor faster than another one, so you see this really slow passing thing happen. It's hilarious. But and you'll find the people that are in the motorhomes, especially the ones that are pulling like the trailer or a car behind them, that kind of thing. They often go quite a bit slower. But, for those folks, that's what the right-hand lane was made for.
There's more coming up here on speeding. You can share your thoughts, and everybody does it. 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733, or you can take control of the airwaves and bring up whatever you want. Hour 2's coming up.
Bitcoin.com is of the opinion that the current Bitcoin core development team is not taking satisfactory steps to ensure the growth and advancement of Bitcoin in accordance with Satoshi's vision. As community efforts to resolve these problems have failed, it is necessary to resolve them with a different approach. By using subreddit r/BTC instead of r/Bitcoin and running Bitcoin Unlimited, you are casting a vote against the current development team. Learn more at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Imagine, if you will, a virtual world, a symbiotic economy with its own currency, where you can barter your services with others. Symbi.com is a marketplace of real people exchanging skills and services, from web developers, marketers, video production specialists, and teachers of all sorts, to gaming consulting or fitness coaching. Symbi.com is a vast world of people trading freely. Take my word for it, it's an adventure you can't afford to miss. Simbi.com.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at SurvivorMax.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Saturday, May 27th, 2017. Silver is trading at $17.35 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,267 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 1.8 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $2,046. Antiwar.com reports the civilian death toll of U.S. airstrikes in and around the eastern Syrian town of Mayadeen continues to mount precipitously, with the most recent figures out of the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights confirming over 100 civilians killed on Friday alone. That does not include the 35 civilians killed on Thursday. The Pentagon finally confirmed that they had carried out 2 days of airstrikes against Mayadeen, but that they had yet to assess the results. Reports from the area suggest more or less everyone killed was a civilian, including more than 40 children. The most recent targets have centered around the town's municipal government building, where large numbers of civilians, mostly family members of fighters of the Islamic State, had sought refuge. Indications are that around 80 of the 100 killed in the most recent strikes were family members of the Islamic State fighters. It's unclear why Mayadeen specifically had become the target in the last few days, as most U.S. airstrikes are meant to assist the advances of Kurdish fighters around Raqqa, and while the town is indeed not very far from Raqqa, there is no indication that the Kurds are advancing anywhere near that area. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. UPI reports a federal judge in New York City assessed a $247 million penalty against UPS for illegally shipping cigarettes. Federal District Court Judge Catherine B. Forrest said in a 218-page decision on Thursday that the practice of shipping hundreds of thousands of cartons of untaxed cigarettes between Indian reservations, unlicensed dealers, and customers in private residences in New York State cost the state of New York and New York City millions of dollars in taxes. Forrest said that UPS also violated a 2005 agreement with the state in which the shipping company agreed not to deliver cigarettes to unlicensed recipients. The ruling in the lawsuit, filed in 2015, awards $165.8 million to New York State and $81.2 million to New York City. UPS said it would appeal the decision. New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, who has made the health effects of cigarette smoking a target, said in court testimony in September that the UPS's actions disproportionately attracted young people to cigarette smoking by lowering costs and weakened the state's anti-smoking efforts. UPS lawyer Carrie Cohen argued in court that the city and state mistook cartons of little cigars for cigarettes, adding that the company is in full compliance with the law. After hearing the judge's decision, Cohen said the award was a ridiculously high number. Forrest said a very significant award was necessary because of the dangers of smoking, and that the court is convinced that modest penalties would not make a significant corporate impact on UPS. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports a federal judge on Friday tossed out life prison terms for one of the two men convicted in a deadly Washington, D.C. area shooting spree, saying he must be resentenced in light of a U.S. Supreme Court ruling. Lee Boyd Malveaux was one of the two men found guilty in a series of sniper shootings in the fall of 2002 that killed 10 people, wounded 3, and left residents of Washington, D.C. suburbs traumatized. His co-defendant, John Allen Muhammad, was sentenced to death and executed in 2009. Malveaux, who was 17 at the time of the shooting, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In 2012, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled such sentences were unconstitutional for juveniles and later found that the rulings should be applied retroactively. U.S. District Judge Raymond Jackson cited the Supreme Court decision in ordering that Malveaux be resentenced. The ruling does not affect Malveaux's convictions or the 6 life sentences he was given in Maryland, although his attorneys will be appealing those as well. In the years following his conviction, Malveaux said he was sexually abused by John Allen Muhammad from the age of 15 until the time they embarked on the shooting spree from inside a blue Chevy Caprice. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
Well, it's the end of an era and the beginning of a new one.
Today, Pennington's black part of town moved across the river to North Pennington. The Thompson family sold their home on the east side and moved to the old Kirkland Place at 17 Mansfield Place, establishing the all-new black neighborhood. Northside residents are looking forward to the infusion of fun and funk that the new black part of town is sure to bring to their area. Mayor Mitzi Kranowitz presided over the dedication of the new black neighborhood, unveiling a sign designating it a landmark district.
It's lovely, everyone. Pennington's diversity is its strength, whether it's Little Harlem or the so-called Gayborhood, where Paul and his partner Bryant have that cottage.
Sheriff Stevens today announced that the heavy round-the-clock patrols that helped make the old Thompson house one of the safest neighborhoods in town will move with them.
This has nothing to do with the black part of town moving here. We just want to make sure that everyone here has a comfortable place to live.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. 855-450-3733 if you want to reach us. Talk about whatever's on your mind, though we've been talking quite a bit tonight about road safety, specifically speed limits, and how there's at least one cop out there who's honest enough to admit that the speed limit is basically BS, that it's across the board set way too low. It's Gary Meggie of the Michigan State Police being interviewed over at Quartz and Priceonomics, and he was talking about what's called the 85th percentile. Now, this is where their traffic engineers will review the speed limit on thousands of stretches in road and highway. The survey team, they have a clear approach. They want to set the speed limit so that 15% of drivers exceed it and that 85% of drivers drive at or below the speed limit.
And I feel like that's just bunk for most of the speed limits I
What they're
see.
saying here is that most speed limits are set below the 85th percentile speed.
Significantly.
They first investigated this topic at the urging of the National Motorists Association, a member-supported driver advocacy organization that's made raising speed limits to the 85th percentile one focus of its efforts. One member pointed us to a 1992 report by the U.S. Department of Transportation on the effects of raising and lowering speed limits, which, beside making the same arguments described above, noted that the majority of highway agencies set speed limits below the 85th percentile, leading over 50% of motorists to drive, quote, in technical violation of the speed limit laws. Lieutenant Meggie believes the compliance rate in Michigan to be well under 50%. It seems absurd that over half of drivers technically break the law at all times. It's also perplexing that speed limit policies so consistently ignore Traffic Engineering 101. So why do people like Lieutenant Meggie need to spend their time trying to raise the speed limits? And then they actually give an excerpt from Sammy Hagar's hit song, I Can't Drive 55. Quote, when I drive that slow, you know it's hard to steer, and I can't get my car out of second gear. What used to take 2 hours now takes all day. Ha! It took me 16 hours to get to L.A.
From where?
Unquote. In 1973, the Egyptian military crossed the Suez Canal in a surprise attack on Israel. It was the start of the 1973 Arab-Israeli War and also the start of low speed limits in the United States. When the United States began resupplying Israel with arms, the Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, announced an embargo against the United States and several other countries. Combined with other supply constraints, it led to a quadrupling of gas prices, shortages of gasoline, and long lines at the pump. Now, Mark, you were alive when that happened, right?
What year was that? 76, 75?
73.
73
was when that started. That was when the military
sense.
crossed the canal.
I remember the lines at the gas station. And
how old were you when that happened?
I was born in 71.
Right.
And there's a picture of me in the old house that I barely remember that I grew up in. We left it when I was in kindergarten. And I had all my toys that had wheels, like the big ones that you could ride.
Tonka truck or whatever.
Yeah, trucks and like big wheels and we had I had a bear that you could ride that had like caster wheels on it.
Awesome.
It seems like it was horribly dangerous. But we had
all those old toys are way more fun and dangerous.
This is in Florida. We had terrazzo floors, and for those in the world that don't know what terrazzo is, this is like basically crushed up marbles and Portland cement all honed down to a very flat surface. You drop a cotton ball, it'll shatter. I mean, it's just as hard as it could possibly be. And of course, I fell and bumped my head all the time. Yeah. And that's probably the explanation for so many things. But yeah, I had these vehicles all lined up around the kitchen counter, and my mother asked what I was doing, and I said I was playing gas station. Because this is what would happen. We'd sit in the gas. You had, they would have different days of the week that you could go, depending on your license plate and that kind of thing. And you better not be caught in that line by another driver. They'll snitch you out.
So when that was happening, in an effort to reduce America's need for gas, President Nixon issued an executive order mandating a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit on American highways, which Congress made law the following year. States are in charge of setting their own speed limits, but national leaders successfully cajoled states by tying compliance to federal highway funds. And I hate it when news people call politicians leaders. They aren't leaders. They're scum of the earth. Since driving at high speeds is less efficient, the policy is estimated to have saved 167,000 barrels of oil per day.
Why don't they just make driving cars more efficient at speed? Because it's really just a gearing issue. Now, I understand you're talking about 1970s cars at that time, and that's a totally different thing. But if this is still true today, you can't just add a new lower overdrive. For those that don't know, overdrive is any gear that is sort of smaller than the drive shaft gear. Anything above that is a regular drive gear.
Let's go to your phone calls and thoughts here, then more on the kind of the history of the speed limit. Let's go first to Jim. He's in Syracuse, New York, listening to WTNY out of Watertown. Hey, Jim.
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah, I have to agree we should raise the speed limit, but if you're going to do it, make it nationwide. If you're going to have, I've been in states where there's 65, 70, 75, make it 80 all the way across the board. And
now, are you saying, just to clarify, are you saying it should be 80 on just the interstates, or that the federal government should be able to cram down a speed limit on, let's say, a downtown street or a neighborhood?
Well, no, I'm saying on your 2-lane, 4-lane road, 4-lane, 2 on each side, make it 80 miles an hour. It's like the interstates, Interstate 90, Interstate 80, whatever.
Yeah.
Make it 80 miles per hour.
I think that would give pressure. That would put upward pressure on speed limits all across the state, whatever the state might be. Because
yeah,
if you
but then I also agree you should slow it down when you're in the cities. Let the states control those small piddly ass speed limits, but put the main drags like the interstates in charge, the government in charge of that, saying, okay, we could go 80 or 90, whatever.
Yeah, if the federal government's going to get credit for the interstate system, and it does, because people believe that the federal government is, made the interstates, and it certainly had some. It certainly worked with states in some ways.
They funneled some money into it.
They funneled money into it and that kind of thing. But if they're going to get credit for it, then sure, they should be able to put a top speed limit on it. Sort of raise that up across the board. Now, I think there are some areas where states need to have latitude. Some interstates going through metropolitan areas, so I can think of I-95 heading through Manhattan. It's probably not a good idea for that one to be 80 miles an hour.
No,
and it's not going to be anyway.
Common sense has got to come into play, too.
Yep.
You just don't put it there.
Well, sometimes in the day you can't go faster than 30 miles an hour at this.
You're lucky. Exactly. You're lucky to be moving at all. Sometimes I try to avoid it. It's awful.
I had one other thing I wanted to remark about.
Yes,
you were talking about your stoplight, or your walk and don't walk.
Yeah. Yep.
And the beach and all that. I live in the stupidest town because the people, they're just dumb. They'll walk when it says don't walk. And now I've seen a guy get a ticket if he even comes close to hitting that person, even though they walked when they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
This is the sort of thing that gives pedestrians this entitlement mentality because, I mean, I'm sure that I have been walking along not paying attention to what I'm doing, and it's because we have this whole notion that towns should be pedestrian friendly. And I'm not saying
I've never
they
done
shouldn't.
that. I'm always, paying attention
I
to
try to
the cars.
But I think
so
that...
am I, and I would have hit the guy.
Yep.
If I hadn't been paying attention, but I had the right of way because he definitely had don't walk.
Yeah, and that's the problem with these lazy pedestrians is they're spoiled. Yeah, they're spoiled, and they believe that everybody's looking out for them, and so it's a good thing that you were paying attention. Jim, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate it. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. I almost never press the button at those intersections.
No, I don't press the button to do the intersect.
So 99% of the time I'm walking across. I mean, I don't remember the last time I had to press one of those buttons. But sometimes it's interesting because most people will wait for the walk signal. But if you step out into the street,
they'll go with you.
They'll go with you. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can take control of the airwaves here on this live Saturday edition of Free Talk Live. More on the kind of the history of where this 55-mile-an-hour speed limit came from and where we are today, where one cop is saying, raise all the speed limits. It's Free Talk Live.
Have you ever thought you'd like to flip houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? Are you ready to be your own boss so you can start living the good life? Hi, I'm Preston Ely. I used to be so broke. I had my electricity turned off 9 times, but I figured out a way to quit my job and find financial freedom in real estate. For a limited time, I want to send you a free copy of my smash hit selling book, How to Get Rich in Real Estate. It shows you how to copy exactly what I did so you can make money from the comfort of your own home without even doing any manual labor. I've already given away 5,000 books and they're going fast. To get one before they're gone, call 1-800-958-9256. Listen, if you're sick and tired of stressing about money, this book could change your life. It's short, fun to read, easy to understand, and awesome. To find out how to get your free book while supplies last, call 1-800-958-9256. Call 1-800-958-9256. 1-800-958-9256.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business. So make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadavi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It is Free Talk Live Saturday edition of the show. As always, you may join us right here toll-free at 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. With you tonight, you've got Ian.
And Mark.
We're going to go back to your calls and thoughts. We've been talking quite a bit about the speed limit here tonight.
Yeah, but I want to tell you about Simbi. So what Simbi is a website where you can go and participate with other people who have talents like you. And I don't know what your talents are. Hell, you don't know what my talents are. But there are all kinds of talents at Simbi, SIMBI.com. And you can trade. When you go on there, they give you, you list a talent or whatever that you're willing to do, that sort of thing for other people, and how much you're willing to do it for. And they will give you, right off the bat, some of their currency, their Simbi. So
that's the name of the currency.
Yeah, it's the name of the website and the currency. It stands for symbiotic is the idea.
Yeah. Okay.
And they inflate their currency right then, right? They increase it for everybody who shows up. You've got some to spend, and you've got a talent to sell. And you just go find people that have the things you want and exchange. Mostly it's doing things as opposed to getting things. I didn't see a lot of, they might make a bracelet or something for you. But, there's people doing computer repair work, audiovisual work, all kinds of things on there, marketing and just all kinds of stuff.
Now, how's this different from, say, a barter exchange?
A barter exchange, it would be pretty similar. Yeah, It's pretty similar to a barter exchange, I would guess.
Do the barter exchanges have a currency?
They think you price your stuff at what you would price it at. So, the idea is that you're trading in that manner. So, a plumber would normally do a visit for $70 and, a dressmaker has a dress that would price at $120. The plumber exchanges, $70 worth of, plumbing script into $120 worth of plumbing script into the barter exchange. And then somebody can buy that and, that sort of thing. So it's very similar to those. And it's fascinating. This is the barter exchange of the internet in that way. And I think it's great. So go check it out, SIMBI.com, and get involved. It's not going to cost you anything.
Let's go to your calls and thoughts. You can dial in toll-free here. Bring up what you want. We were talking about the speed limit and how at least one cop in Michigan, a state police officer, says they're all too low. Raise them up for safety's sake. Let's go first to Ferris in Myrtle Beach, listening to WRNN. Hey, Ferris. Ferris in Myrtle Beach, going once. Ferris in Myrtle Beach, going twice. I'm going to put Ferris back on hold. Maybe he's in a bad cell or something. Let's try Fred in Columbia, listening to WQXL, also in South Carolina. Hello, Fred.
How you doing?
Hey, Fred, you're on the air. Good.
All right. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I just wanted to make a couple of points about the Autobahn in Germany.
Please do.
I've heard several of your callers call about it, and first of all, it's a highly efficient traveling system. It's actually great, but there's a big difference in Germany because the roads are in very good shape.
Yep.
The cars go through much better inspection, and you don't have many of your do-it-yourself mechanics over there. If you have an Opel, you take it to the Opel dealer. You got a Volkswagen dealer, and so on. The comment about a person driving in the left-hand lane and getting a ticket for not driving 100 miles an hour, you guys mentioned it before. The slower traffic keeps to the right. So the biggest danger on the Autobahn is tailgating. So the flashing of the lights, that's like bad etiquette over there. You're not going to get a ticket. Yeah, flashing. Yeah, that's bad etiquette. That's considered rude.
Okay.
That's considered rude. But worse,
You're
it's
talking
more
about when
dangerous.
you're oncoming or somebody behind you flashing the lights?
Behind you, flashing behind you is rude. Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Like to say, get out of the way, bud, that kind of thing?
Exactly. But in Germany, the Autobahn, there's a hierarchy. If you have a 1.8 liter car and you have a 2.2 liter car behind you, you know that guy's going to go faster than you, and that's just the way it is. So it's extremely, it's a passing lane. You gotta get in the left hand lane to pass and get back in, because the speed is so fast. By the way, there are many areas where it's wide open. You go wide open for many miles, but then it'll slow down for a work area or slow down for a major city, and then it speeds up again. But lots of times it's just wide open, so that left-hand lane must be maintained clear.
So when you were, it sounds like you've driven on the Autobahn. How long did you spend there in Germany?
2.5 years. I have over 200,000 miles driving on the Autobahn.
And what is it? What did you? Now we just read a piece here from the internet saying that the average speed is 93. What would you do when you're at 93 miles an hour? So what would you do?
I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 220 kilometers an hour. That's almost like 130 miles an hour.
Wow.
And there's people, and I have a 1.8 liter Opel station wagon, and that's a 1.8. See, and like my supervisor, he would get a 2.2 liter station wagon.
And
okay, and then
when you were doing 120 miles an hour, were you keeping up with traffic, or were you the fastest person on the road?
No, I was keeping up with traffic, but sometimes there's many people passing me.
Wow. Can you imagine?
There's many people, like I mentioned, it's in a hierarchy. There's cars that are faster, like the Mercedes and the Audis. The Mercedes is the king. The Mercedes and the BMWs are the king of the highway.
Yeah, no
American cars, forget it. American cars, they can't compete. They can't compete. A Mustang, whatever. No, they can't hang.
Great call, Fred. Thanks for sharing your experience tonight. I appreciate hearing from you.
I don't think the American cars are built for that kind of high end. I did have a 3 Series BMW, and the thing was ridiculously fast. And one thing I really learned with that vehicle is you need to keep good tires on your vehicle at all time.
Good traction.
This is what, I ended up doing an S curve because just like my car whipped around because I had some gravel underneath and I put my foot into it too much and my tires weren't good enough.
Wait, so what happened to your car in that case?
I just kind of jerked around.
Okay.
You
fishtailed a bit?
Fishtailed, yeah, that's a better term. And
you didn't lose control completely, but you were about to.
Right. And I mean, I have never gotten that out of my mind since that occurred.
Yeah.
And, I got a wife and then I got a kid. And I've always, I don't care about that little bump or the little penny test and what the traction is. I want good tires on the car that my child and my wife are going to be driving. Yeah, I've never paid much attention to mine, but I want to make sure that they have a really good vehicle. Yeah.
You can join us here. Let's go to Kevin. He is in Michigan. Kevin, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian and Mark on the Live Saturday show. Go ahead.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to make a comment about the walk signals you were talking about earlier.
Sure.
I'm a retired mailman, and I delivered up and down the main street of a small town downstate from where I live. And I noticed that people were always pushing the buttons, standing there waiting, pushing the buttons. Yet the traffic lights seemed to move at a fairly steady pace. So just out of curiosity, one day I asked one of the city workers, I said, what's the deal with these lights? He says, the button. And he says, all those things. He says, they're not even connected.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, what irritates me is the people that push the button and then cross the street, sort of against the light. Don't wait for the walk, don't walk thing to change, and then you have to wait for the button push that they did in that circumstance
to get through.
To go through, and they're already through.
Kevin, I don't know if you had more. If you do, you can hang on, man. I appreciate it. More here in moments. Your calls and thoughts are welcome. You can share your thoughts on the streets, which a lot of us spend a lot of time every day. This is Free Talk Live.
In these uncertain times, it makes sense to have a sustainable backup method to cook food and boil water. If your current plan includes using a fuel-burning stove or cooking over an open fire, then there's a much better way. The Minuteman Rocket Stove is a biomass-burning cooking stove that only requires small quantities of sticks and twigs for fuel. The Minuteman Stove is easy to use, smokeless, portable, powerful, and sustainable. For the finest in survival cooking stoves and fire starters made right here in the USA, go to MinutemanStove.com. That's MinutemanStove.com.
Be prepared for the next disaster with the Shelter Pod. The Shelter Pod is a large, all-season, heavy-duty, quick-deploy shelter. The Shelter Pod system can be set up in 30 seconds and includes an emergency medical kit, water filter, survival tools, and more. Are you prepared to take care of your family? Do you have everything in one place ready to go? Get it now or enter to win a complete Shelter Pod system at ShelterPod.com. The Shelter Pod at ShelterPod.com. Shelter when you need it most.
Hey guys, Mark Claire here, LionsOfLiberty.com, where we strive to advance the ideas of liberty daily. We bring you the Morning Roar. That's right, every Monday to Friday we'll have a brand new edition of the Morning Roar, where we provide a roundup of some news stories that you may not find in the mainstream media or even in your typical social media newsfeed. We find stories that relate to the ideas of liberty and provide you with our liberty perspective on them. Every Monday, we have our longest-running feature, Mondays with Murray, named after the great libertarian Murray Rothbard, where we'll examine an article or an excerpt from his works and help convey his view, along with our little spin as well. We wrap it all up every Friday with Felony Friday, where our own John Odermatt goes out and takes a look at some sort of felony. There's felonies committed every day, you know, whether it's a felony committed by the police, a politician, or even an average citizen. You can find all of this and so much more over at lionsofliberty.com. Advancing the ideas of liberty daily.
Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org. For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on-demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long-distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu 641-793-9660. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live. Dial on in here, toll free. Take control of the airwaves on this live Saturday edition. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
Our toll free number is 855-450, free like freedom, 855-450-3733. We talk a lot about Bitcoin, both on and off the air. Actually, we haven't talked about it on the air yet tonight, Mark, but you and I were talking about off the air the price of Bitcoin, which It's taken quite a fall over the last few days. It's gone down from around a peak of about $2,750 per Bitcoin down to where it is right now, which is, according to Bitcoin Average, $20.87. So a huge drop, like a $700 drop in basically the last 72 hours. It's been a real tough situation, I'm sure, for those people who bought at around 25 or 2,600. But a lot of us would say, hold on.
Well, in October,
don't sell, just be patient.
Yeah, October or September, I remember it being at $640.
Right.
So it's more than
triple that.
More than triple that, right. and was quadruple that earlier this week. And this is a volatile thing. You shouldn't be putting your life savings in it, unless you're 18 or something. Then your life savings doesn't amount to much. Maybe you've got a great deal, but you can afford to risk it a little bit.
There are some teenagers who bought some Bitcoin back when it was really cheap and who are very, very wealthy today.
Yeah, I don't like to, reference what Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin was 27 cents when we heard about it, and if we would have gone out and got a home loan and bought a whole bunch at 27 cents, we'd be doing this show from a giant yacht, right?
I don't know.
Well, okay, but anyway, we would have a great deal.
We'd be doing
money.
Very well.
And so what? I mean, you get in when you get in. You make what you make, and you can't look at investments that way. There's an investment every single day in the newspaper, if anybody reads that thing still, where some company or another went up 60 or 80% or something like that, and if you would have gotten onto that company for that day, it would be like, it'd be a lot of money. But if you would have had the lottery numbers right, you'd have made a lot of money too. So what?
So the right way to look at this is maybe that Bitcoin's on sale.
That's what I would say.
We don't know where the new floor is going to be. Some people were saying Bitcoin's in another bubble. It's going to pop. Is it popping right now? Is it going to keep going down? We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But if you want to get some Bitcoin,
I've always said it though. If Bitcoin's worth $1, it's worth $1 million because it has never been hacked.
If you want to get some Bitcoin, you got to have a wallet. And here on Free Talk Live, we have an official wallet. It's called Jaxx. And you can go to jaxx.io to get your copy. And it's cross-platform. So it doesn't matter if you've got an Android phone, iOS device, whether you've got a Windows, Mac, or Linux computer. You can even get Jaxx as a browser plugin for Chrome and Firefox.
And you can access the same wallet on your phone and your computer.
Very handy.
And two phones if you want, whatever.
And there's also Shapeshift integration. So this is a multi-cryptocurrency wallet. It holds more than just Bitcoin.
It's
got
not just
Ether.
a wallet. But before you go on, it's not just a wallet. It is the only way to change a decentralized exchange in the world. You can, because of Shapeshift, you can exchange right within the wallet. You're not going to some exchange and trusting somebody else with your money.
So it was created by Anthony DiOrio. He is the creator of the Crypto Kit, and he made it easy to back up your wallet and recover your funds with Jaxx. Jaxx is striving to give you command over your digital life, coins, contracts, currencies, identity, and more. Your digital command center in the palm of your hand. It's Jaxx, the official wallet of Free Talk Live. Just go get yours over at jaxx.io. As we go back to Kevin in Michigan. Kevin, you said you were a delivery man for the Postal Service, and you were on foot a lot. Delivering around a downtown of a small town there in Michigan, and you were kind of sharing your experiences about traffic lights and people and how they behave at them. And I had a question for you. You had said that you talked to a traffic engineer about when people press the button and wait to cross the street. He said the button's not even connected to anything. Does that mean that they never get the walk signal and they just kind of figure out on their own when to go, or that the walk signal just automatically comes up every time?
Well, first of all, it was a city worker, and the walk signal is coincided with the actual traffic light. So when the light changes, so does the walk signal.
Yeah.
Everything's automated.
So the button does nothing. The button, okay, I got
you. They had just redone all the signals, and they put up all these fancy little lights and fancy little push buttons to use and stuff. And I thought it was really funny that all these people are using them left and right, but yet they're not connected. They're just following
the illusion of control.
When you were doing your route, did you use the walk and don't walk thing, or did you wait for it, or did you just get across the road?
Well, no. We're timed every day, and of course, if I saw a spot in traffic, I just walked across it and didn't care what the light was.
Yep. Yeah. You got places to go and mail to deliver.
Absolutely. Any other observations you want to share with us tonight, Kevin?
Oh, well, yeah. one other thing on the speed limit. I had an idea. When you have semis doing 65 in the right lane and normal traffic doing 70 to 80 in the right lane, you automatically have a traffic jam.
Yep.
No matter what you do.
Yep.
You have two different flows. So if everybody, like one gentleman said, if everybody could just do 80 or 75, leave it at that, everything would move so much smoother.
Yep. Some states have different speed limits for big trucks than they do for cars, and that makes no sense at all.
That's the way Michigan is. It's 65 for semis and 70 to 75 for cars.
Yeah. It makes no sense. I mean,
I guess the idea is that, the trucks have momentum, so it's harder for them to slow down and stop. But is there that much of a difference between 65 and 75? I don't know.
The interstate system was made for transportation. We, the drivers, we, the people in the cars, we're just, peripherals out there. We're the little raptors running around the legs of the brontosauruses. So you give the brontosauruses the room they need to do their job. They're out there working.
God bless those folks, man.
7 days a week.
They keep the country together.
10 hours a day. They're separated from their families. They don't get enough exercise. They got to eat that greasy food all the time.
Yeah, it's tough.
They
showering at gas
all
stations.
The room we can give them.
Hey, thanks for the call tonight, man. Kevin, I appreciate hearing from you. Our toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom.
I want to thank all the truckers out there for their service because you really do keep America moving.
Absolutely. 855-450-3733, and thank them while they still exist. I mean, you've got companies out there very interested in automating 18-wheelers, making it so that there's no more human being behind the wheel of those things. It would be like that Stephen King movie come to real life. What was it? Maximum Overdrive? Remember that one from I think it was the 80s. It was probably before you went to prison, Mark. Do you remember that one?
I remember Christine.
Christine was about the car that was like possessed.
Yeah.
Maximum Overdrive was like a kind of I guess it was mostly set to AC/DC music. So AC/DC actually provided the soundtrack for this. And I don't remember if it was based on a book or if King actually just wrote it for the big screen. But it was like a really cheesy kind of action movie with Emilio Estevez and him and a bunch of other people who many of them end up being victims, end up in this gas station as apparently a like alien space death ray or something like that, essentially puts the trucks of the world into like under the control of the aliens, basically. And so you've got all these 18-wheelers who are just driving around with no driver in them and menacing people and killing people, and they encircle this gas station, and the people are trapped inside, and they're trying to figure out what to do about these trucks that are.
I would think that the trucks could just smash right through the walls of the gas station. Your best bet is to run perpendicular to the path of the truck. It's not like they're really.
You're supposed to suspend disbelief while watching the film.
Sorry,
Mark.
I didn't get to see the movie, but whatever. I do think you're going to have self-driven or computer-driven trucks at some point in the relatively near future.
I think it's there right now. It's just a matter of regulatory hurdles.
You'll still have short haul truckers that need to deliver things to grocery stores and stuff like that. So maybe the long haul truckers will be able to downgrade and stay closer to home and have a real life.
The toll free number is 855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And it's not just truckers. Anybody whose career involves driving from point A to point B should probably start thinking now about what you might want to do in another decade, because it's going to get harder and harder to find jobs in those fields as automation basically wipes out transportation.
Time to release that rap album.
It's Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com. Do you need a website for your blog or new business? It can be pretty intimidating on your own, and that's why Free Talk Live has partnered with HostGator, one of the top hosting companies. HostGator offers a simple one-click, easy installation for WordPress, 24/7 over-the-phone or live chat tech support, and a very intuitive, user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation back into your hands. Go to HostGator.com/FTL and you'll get 50% off of their regular hosting prices. 50% off. HostGator.com/FTL.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-765-9681 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-765-9681. Again, that's 800-765-9681.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, you dial toll free. Join us here and bring up anything you want to discuss. With you tonight, you've got Ian.
And Mark.
Our number's 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733. And you can Skype in at Skype username LRN.FM. Of course, you can bring up what you want, but we've been actually talking a lot about the roads. And not the classic libertarian discussion of the roads, because usually it's...
the government, who would make the roads?
Yeah, that's usually how it is. In this case, we're talking about the speed limits.
I have an answer for that. The same people that make the roads now, because the government doesn't make the roads.
They hire people.
They hire people to do it.
Yeah. Actually,
what you're actually asking when you ask that question is, without the government stealing people's property through eminent domain, how would we have roads that connect one point to another? And the answer to that is auction theory. If you don't know what it is, Google it. It's a simple answer.
Indeed. So we're going to go back to your calls and thoughts. Let's start up here with John in Virginia Beach, listening to WNIS. Hello, John.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing tonight?
Well, it's on great. What's on your mind tonight, John?
Look, I was just saying, and in regards to your previous caller, well, first of all, let me just say long-time listener, first-time caller, get that out of the way.
Oh, thanks.
No problem, man. Hey, look, in regards to one of your previous callers talking about big rigs going slower, they actually, the faster they go, as far as like above like 55, 60, 65 miles an hour, they actually lose fuel economy, as do passenger vehicles.
I see.
And most of those guys are owner-operators and working on a very slim margin. I know this because my granddad owned a truck company. And basically, I mean, it comes down to having to nickel and dime to make money on it, you know?
Well, let me ask you this. So I know that I've heard that cars get better gas mileage at somewhere around 55. The idea that every car gets better gas mileage at 55 sounds ridiculous. But why don't they just make better gearing in automobiles, put in another overdrive or something, so that they get better mileage at higher speeds? I mean, it works on 10-speed bicycles. Why wouldn't it work on a car?
Well, come on, you already know that. Big oil.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason. Maybe it is.
John, anything else you want to share? That's the reason why we don't have cars that get 100 miles a gallon right now in vehicles. They're out there. They're just not in vehicles.
I've heard of this carburetor. My uncle spoke of it when I was young, and told the story about how the men in suits came late at night and
it's always a good story.
Took the paid a bunch of money or something, and the carburetor disappeared, and that was it.
That's it, man.
John, thanks for your call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. Let's talk to Dan.
My wife's Toyota Prius plug-in we're at 63 miles to the gallon, so we're not that far from it.
Dan in Virginia Beach, you're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Dan.
Hey, how are you guys tonight?
Great. What's on your mind?
Just enjoying the discussion here. The 55-mile-an-hour speed limit was implemented by the government under Jimmy Carter during the shortage.
Actually, they said here it was Nixon that did it, but regardless.
Yeah, and it was a way that supposedly saved money. And if you look at the environmental studies, most automobiles put out less emissions at a higher speed, and all of that is just government propaganda to try to control us in our vehicles like they do everything else in our lives.
They sure do.
So, I have to drive for a living, but not as a CDL or a long distance. I'm a bank inspector, and I have to go all over the place. I travel about 50,000 miles a year.
What sort of things do you inspect?
And when a lender loans you money for improvements on a house, they want to make sure those improvements are done. And so I'm the person that goes out and verifies that the work you said you were going to do got done, and then we issue checks and things like that. But, the biggest impediment to traffic is that people have lost the art of driving. They do not know what the left-hand lane is for anymore. Yeah. They sit there and kind of, daydream or whatever. And in Germany, you'll get a ticket quicker for blocking the fast lane than you will for speeding. So it's just a general mentality. But the other thing I want to talk about was Bitcoin.
Sure.
And I actually want to thank both of y'all because I called this show, I think it might have been 3 years ago, because I had no idea what Bitcoin was.
Right.
And I actually bought into it and am very pleased with it. And believe it or not, today on the Larry Kudlow show, they had a guy talking about Bitcoin and about buying it, and it kind of got me a little scared.
Scared how?
Because I thought, well, it was kind of cool. Bitcoin, it still is. It's just one of those things that most people haven't heard about.
They hadn't, but it's becoming much more mainstream now. I've heard on NPR they're giving the Bitcoin price on whatever their money show is that comes on at 6 o'clock. I can't remember what it is.
The thing that's killing me right now is the fees, man. I mean, I don't know what the fees thing is, but
well, let me explain that here real fast. So this is something that we've talked about in detail over the last several months on Free Talk Live. In fact, we're going to have Roger Veer on the show tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. So if you aren't able to listen live, you can always listen to our archives later at freetalklive.com.
That's Bitcoin Jesus.
Right, Roger Veer from Bitcoin.com. And we're going to be talking about those fees because so just to bring you up to speed, for listeners that don't know, Dan, why don't you just describe what Bitcoin is real fast? Because normally we do it, but I'd just like to hear you do it, and then I'll tell you about the fees.
It's a viable currency. I mean, the whole concept of it is it's not manipulated by government. Best way I would describe it is real money, in my opinion.
Yep, real money for the
real,
internet age.
Right, and it's really very easy to use, especially with the new app with the wallet. It's just, and if you ever have to go, let's say you have to go to China or something. I mean, it's hard to explain. I would tell anybody that wants to know something about Bitcoin, take a chance, put some money in it, do just like you do with everything else in today's age. Go in there, play around, explore, find out who takes it, and it's just an experience that you'll be so surprised with.
Yeah, and
because it's hard to describe verbally. Verbally it's like, okay, it's money, but it's not money, and it's on the internet.
It's like internet money. It's internet money. It's decentralized. Yeah. It wasn't created by any bank or any government, and it puts the power of money into the hands of you and I, the people, which is an amazing.
And that's what I mean by real money.
Right. It's a paradigm shift.
Your hand.
Yeah, it's a paradigm shift.
Exactly.
It's hard to really overstate, what that means, to people, because for our entire lifetimes and the lifetimes of our grandparents and generations, the government and the banks have been the ones who've been in control of money. Bitcoin changes all that, and that's what makes it so important.
You know what really turned me on to it was a friend of mine gave me the article about how the Federal Reserve was formed off the island in Georgia and all of this stuff. And I was like, you know what? This is the first thing. I mean, and I'm in my 50s, and this is the first time in my whole lifetime that any concept like this that I can ever remember was and there's nobody that can really stop it, I don't think.
That's right. Well, except for Bitcoin itself, which is the problem with this. So that's where we get into these fees, which have been going crazy over the last, year, basically, especially the last 3 or 4 months. It's been nuts. And so fees for Bitcoin, for listeners that don't know, used to be very, very small, like the fraction of a penny to a couple pennies. And now it's like $2 to send a Bitcoin transaction. Like, that's the median fee as of yesterday, according to what I was looking at. And the reason why that's happened is Bitcoin is basically full. So Bitcoin has
there's two factions that were warring over things, and now that we've had the New York City Accords that came down at what was Consensus
that happened last week,
I really believe that some of these problems are solved.
Not yet. They have to implement the consensus, which is going to take several months. In the meantime, we've got the deal with these fees, and they've just gone up and up and up. So, Mark, that problem has not been solved. They have a plan to solve it.
Okay.
Finally, after 3 years of debating over this, they have a plan, and they're supposedly going to execute that plan. Just the question is, how quickly can they do this? Because in the meantime, people are going to be dropping off of Bitcoin because of what Dan's saying here. These fees are very unattractive.
I'm using the Jax wallet, and I'm buying and selling things with Dash at this point.
That means you are dropping off of Bitcoin because you're using Dash. That's my point, is that if the fees are too high, and they are too high, people are going to look for other options. So Bitcoin better get itself fixed, and it better do it fast. But what I was explaining was what the fees were. So anyway, there's essentially Bitcoin's full. The transactions per minute that it can handle are maxed out. And so the reason why the fees have been going up is because essentially the people who are sending transactions are bidding against one another to say, oh, well, my transaction's so important, I'm willing to pay X. Well, I'm willing to pay X plus 1. Well, I'm willing to pay X plus 3. And so the fees just keep going up because of that. So they're trying to figure out how to scale Bitcoin to where we can bring these fees back down. We're going to keep informing you as this develops. Dan, thanks for your call.
I'll be listening to that tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's tomorrow night. You can always get us online at freetalklive.com. We got a full hour to go here tonight. More coming up. Thanks, Dan, for the call. This is Free Talk Live.
Everyone has something in their lives or just about themselves that they want to change, from trying to lose weight to becoming more motivated at work. Change is difficult, but the good news is no matter what, you don't have to go through it alone. Hypnotherapy can help you remove negative subconscious thoughts that keep you from achieving your goals. Never rely on just willpower again. Contact us at afterhourshypnotherapy.com today for your free consultation, or contact Melvin Marsh at 678-658-8483.
Bitcoin.com recently reported Bitcoin transaction fees have increased by more than 1,200% since 2015. To many Bitcoin proponents, the current fee market is moving way too fast, making Bitcoin unusable for certain transactions. The fee market and slow confirmation times have also increased the tension concerning the block size debate. However, if there are wallets with low amounts of Bitcoin that can't cover the fees, they become virtually unspendable. Learn more at news.bitcoin.com. That's news.bitcoin.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Saturday, May 27th, 2017. Silver is trading at $17.35 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,267 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 1.8 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $2,046. Antiwar.com reports the civilian death toll of U.S. airstrikes in and around the eastern Syrian town of Mayadeen continues to mount precipitously, with the most recent figures out of the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights confirming over 100 civilians killed on Friday alone. That does not include the 35 civilians killed on Thursday. The Pentagon finally confirmed that they had carried out 2 days of airstrikes against Mayadeen, but that they had yet to assess the results. Reports from the area suggest more or less everyone killed was a civilian, including more than 40 children. The most recent targets have centered around the town's municipal government building, where large numbers of civilians, mostly family members of fighters of the Islamic State, had sought refuge. Indications are that around 80 of the 100 killed in the most recent strikes were family members of the Islamic State fighters. It's unclear why Mayadeen specifically had become the target in the last few days, as most U.S. airstrikes are meant to assist the advances of Kurdish fighters around Raqqa, and while the town is indeed not very far from Raqqa, there is no indication that the Kurds are advancing anywhere near that area. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. UPI reports a federal judge in New York City assessed a $247 million penalty against UPS for illegally shipping cigarettes. Federal District Court Judge Catherine B. Forrest said in a 218-page decision on Thursday that the practice of shipping hundreds of thousands of cartons of untaxed cigarettes between Indian reservations, unlicensed dealers, and customers in private residences in New York State costs the state of New York and New York City millions of dollars in taxes. Forrest said that UPS also violated a 2005 agreement with the state in which the shipping company agreed not to deliver cigarettes to unlicensed recipients. The ruling in the lawsuit, filed in 2015, awards $165.8 million to New York State and $81.2 million to New York City. UPS said it would appeal the decision. New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, who has made the health effects of cigarette smoking a target, said in court testimony in September that the UPS's actions disproportionately attracted young people to cigarette smoking by lowering costs and weakened the state's anti-smoking efforts. UPS lawyer Kerry Cohen argued in court that the city and state mistook cartons of little cigars for cigarettes, adding that the company is in full compliance with the law. After hearing the judge's decision, Cohen said the award was a ridiculously high number. Forrest said a very significant award was necessary because of the dangers of smoking, and that the court is convinced that modest penalties would not make a significant corporate impact on UPS. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports a federal judge on Friday tossed out life prison terms for one of the two men convicted in a deadly Washington, D.C. area shooting spree, saying he must be resentenced in light of a U.S. Supreme Court ruling. Lee Boyd Malveaux was one of the two men found guilty in a series of sniper shootings in the fall of 2002 that killed 10 people, wounded 3, and left residents of Washington, D.C. suburbs traumatized. His co-defendant, John Allen Muhammad, was sentenced to death and executed in 2009. Malveaux, who was 17 at the time of the shooting, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In 2012, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled such sentences were unconstitutional for juveniles and later found that the rulings should be applied retroactively. U.S. District Judge Raymond Jackson cited the Supreme Court decision in ordering that Malveaux be resentenced. The ruling does not affect Malveaux's convictions or the 6 life sentences he was given in Maryland, although his attorneys will be appealing those as well. In the years following his conviction, Malveaux said he was sexually abused by John Allen Muhammad from the age of 15 until the time they embarked on the shooting spree from inside a blue Chevy Caprice. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
A new medical study on the effects of marijuana use confirms that everyone knows you're high and that you'll never stop feeling like this.
Everyone can smell the marijuana on your breath and on your clothes. Everyone is laughing at you.
Additionally, the in-depth report reveals that despite trying to act cool, you're definitely laughing too much and everyone is messing with you.
Your parents know you're high. Your friends know you're high. Strangers on the street know you're high. If you're young and you smoke marijuana, you will probably never be able to find a job. And if you're an adult, you will most likely be fired. If you hear a noise, that's probably the police, and you're probably going to jail.
While previous studies suggested that it's all good and that we're all made of the same stuff that makes stars, new research indicates that your brain got broken and you shouldn't have done this. Doctors say the study raises important questions such as, what if that wasn't just marijuana and how are you going to get home?
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. Launching into the third hour of the live Saturday edition. As always, we invite you to take control of the airwaves. Bring up whatever's on your mind. Our number here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And we do have Skype. And the Skype username is LRN.FM. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
We, in the first and second hours, were sharing a story that's actually pretty in-depth from Quartz, QZ.com, where they're reporting from actually a piece, I believe, originally over at Priceonomics by Alex Mayasi, interviewing Gary Maggie of the Michigan State Police. He's a lieutenant in the state police whose job it is to actually raise the speed limit, because he says that most of these speed limits are way too low, and that if you actually raise the speed limit to what they call the 85th percentile, where 15% of the people will break the speed limit, but 85% of the drivers will stay at or below the speed limit, then that's the optimum, most safe limit to have. But apparently most of the roads in the United States are actually far below that 85th percentile point. And so then the story goes into, well, why is that? Why is this inefficient system there? And they go all the way back to the 1970s when the Arab-Israeli War happened, which resulted in a gasoline shortage in the United States, which resulted in President Nixon at the time mandating a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit on American highways.
I always thought it was Carter, too. Somebody mentioned it was Carter, and I always thought it was him,
Maybe
too.
this guy's wrong who wrote the article. I don't know, Mark. It's one of those guys back then. Carter didn't come in, though, until, 76, didn't he?
Yep, that'd be correct, yeah.
So, yeah, it would have been probably a little bit late for this going down. Anyway, back to the story.
I think Carter tried to bring in the metric system.
Too bad he didn't succeed on that.
Yeah, man. Metric system's so much better than what we've got.
It'd be hard to get used to it, but once you got used to it,
I'm willing to go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, America, will you make the pledge with me? Let's switch to the metric system.
Hey, Mark, maybe you should run for state representative and see if you can get New Hampshire to switch, because they tried switching to the Atlantic time zone, Atlantic Standard Time, and unfortunately, I believe that did not go through. I don't know. I don't think it made through the Senate, unfortunately. But it was looking good. Like, it looked like Maine and Massachusetts and New Hampshire might kind of team up to all join the Atlantic Standard Time and get rid of daylight saving time shifting and all that. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. Not this year, at least.
Can't join our fellow Acadian brethren in New Brunswick and Newfoundland with Atlantic time.
We got more persuading politicians to do before that one's going to happen. Even though everybody hates switching the time clocks, they managed to not succeed this time around with it. Anyway, back to the story here at QZ.com. Even as the effects of the energy crisis drew down in the 1970s, the new federal speed limit remained. But rather than insist on the limit in order to reduce gasoline consumption, members of Congress maintained the policy because they believed it led to safer highways. This is shown by a debate over a measure passed in 1987, which allowed select states to raise the limit on certain roads to 65 miles an hour. The New York Times reported that, quote, critics immediately warned there would be a surge in highway fatalities, unquote. The dissenting chairman of the Public Works and Transportation Committee called it irresponsible, life-threatening legislation.
Yep.
Which the same things would come out today. If we have proposals to increase the speed limit in New Hampshire, all the safety nannies will come out and say how terrible of an idea that is. Congress abolished the national federal speed limit in 1995. Many states increased their speed limits before they could even post new signs, but many speed limits remained low. 20 years of a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit created a low baseline that still drags down speed limits today. If you peruse the websites of state departments of transportation, you'll often find a very technocratic explanation of the 85th percentile principle. Speed limits are consistently lower than the 85th percentile speed across the country. However, because there are many limitations on following the principle, Florida's Department of Transportation, for example, extols the 85th percentile principle, yet the state legislature sets maximum limits for each type of roadway. Locally, officials can come under pressure from parents and other safety-conscious groups to lower the speed limits.
Yep, it's always lower speed limits as the solution.
Consistently.
It isn't teaching your kid not to play in the street.
Or to look both ways before they cross. Consistently, the 85th percentile loses out to the perception that faster roads are less safe, so speed limits should be low. It's a misconception, says Lieutenant Meggie, that he faces often in his work. When he proposes raising a speed limit, the initial reaction is always, "Oh my God, you can't do that! People are already going too fast," he said. People think that raising the limit 10 miles an hour will lead people to drive 10 miles an hour faster, when really changing the limit has almost no impact on the speed of traffic.
It's called a limit because you're not obligated to go that speed. It's just that people do go that speed and higher because the limits are set so low.
The same lack of understanding motivates public health pushes for lower speed limits that influence legislation. The World Health Organization, for example.
I'd also like to point out in many of these cases, streets have the same speed limit they've had for 40 years. Does anyone think that my mom's 1971 Cutlass Supreme – no, my grandmother had the Cutlass Supreme. My 1971 Cutlass that she had has the same handling ability as a brand new Toyota today?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really? Does anyone think that the muscle cars of the 70s are the same as the new rice burners of this modern era? Because it's ridiculous. Cars are a lot safer than they used to be. Therefore, presumably, speed limits should go up, but they don't.
The World Health Organization advocates low speed limits to prevent road fatalities and cites studies showing that accidents and fatalities increase with traffic speed. Meggie, the cop, says when you look at it from a pure physics perspective and ask whether you would rather hit a bridge at abutment at 10 miles an hour or 40, you can't argue with that. But when I look at correcting a speed limit, I'm not advocating driving faster, and that's the hard part to get over, he says. If someone could wave a wand and get every American to drive below 60 miles an hour, roads would be safer. But since law enforcement can't keep over 50% of Americans from speeding, putting a low number on a sign doesn't make roads safer. Fortunately, American roadways are safer than ever, with highway fatalities at historic lows. Roads can be dangerous.
It's because cars are getting safer.
But the perception of roads getting increasingly dangerous is a false one. Let's go to Josh. He's in Grand Forks, North Dakota, listening to KNOX. Hey, Josh.
Hey, I'm a professional truck driver here, and
Thank
I
you for
want
your
to point out a
service.
couple things. Well, thank you.
Did you say
there's
national
a
truck driver?
proposal through
Professional.
the DOT.
Professional. Are you short haul or long
Professional
haul?
trucker. I am short haul. I've
Okay.
done long haul.
Thanks. Go ahead.
That said, there's a proposal to nationally limit through the DOT all trucks at either 60, 65, or 68 miles an hour by law.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I don't know if you guys are aware of that.
We are now. Thank you for letting us know.
Most trucks out there are not owner-operators. They're company trucks.
It's true.
Most company trucks are governed at a certain speed. Usually anywhere from 55 miles an hour through 63, sometimes 68. And that gets the companies a break on insurance costs, and it doesn't do anything for the driver, which is paid by the mile.
Okay.
So basically, there's that there. There's also, you mentioned why they don't put more gears in cars. Well, they do. You see these 9-speed transmissions coming out, or continuously variable transmissions coming out to meet the new CAFE standards. I mean, it's the older, well, I mean, they're coming out. The issue is it's a mechanical nightmare to do it, and they're not reliable yet.
Okay.
Is what it comes down to. They're out there. They're on the market. They're just not reliable.
Good. Thank you.
So I guess that's about it. I mean, but the split speed limits are incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, they are.
You mean the one where they have one for trucks and one for other people?
Yep. That's been proven time and time again. And the national push to govern trucks and the companies governing them is incredibly dangerous. There have been times where you cannot accelerate to avoid an accident. There's nothing you can do.
Oh, jeez.
Except hang on. And, you know, if someone cuts you off, there's nothing you can do. You can't stop. You can't get out of their way.
Man.
That limits your options for sure. That's a great point.
Yep.
Josh, thanks for sharing that tonight, man. I appreciate hearing from you.
No problem.
That's
You have
Josh.
a good one.
Yep, drive safe out there. That's Josh in Grand Forks. Your calls and thoughts welcome. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE, like freedom, 855-450-3733.
That's why I always give extra wide berth to the truckers. You know, they're running by a whole different set of rules than we are out there on the road.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. It's way more dangerous driving one of those things.
And the cops love to pull them over.
All right, 855-450-FREE. You can join us here on the radio. This is Free Talk Live.
Today, how to incorporate your business in just 10 minutes so you won't lose everything if you get sued. Step 1, stop putting it off. If you're not incorporated and someone sues your business tomorrow, it's not just your business at risk. You can lose everything: your home, your car, even your life savings. Step 2, call the following number for a free 10-minute incorporation guide from Incorporate.com. 1-800-940-9829. They don't provide legal or financial advice. They just make incorporating quick and easy. So you can incorporate or form an LLC in just 10 minutes. That number again is 1-800-940-9829. Step 3, congratulate yourself. By taking just 10 minutes to incorporate your business or form an LLC, you protected your home, your car, and your life savings. And that is how you incorporate your business in just 10 minutes. But hurry while they're still giving away these 10-minute incorporation guides for free. Call 1-800-940-9829. That's 1-800-940-9829.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business. So make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
There is no such thing as attention span, according to Jerry Seinfeld, who figures that people have an infinite attention span if you are entertaining them. Hey, he's kept us from channel surfing for several decades, and now he's making more millions as a Las Vegas headliner. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're looking for work. So choose every single word as though it was the last word the person you're speaking to will hear. Otherwise, it might be. Avoid redundancies such as added bonus, advance warning, end result, prior history, or personal belongings. And avoid cliches like the plague. Just kidding. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, dial toll free. Join us right here. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom, 855-450-3733. Tonight with you in studio, you've got Ian.
And Mark.
And we've got Skype as well. So Skype on in here to join us at Skype username LRN.FM. Well, Bitcoin.com is of the opinion that the current Bitcoin core development team is not taking satisfactory steps to ensure the growth and advancement of Bitcoin in accordance with Satoshi's vision.
I think they've changed their opinion on that now with the new New York City Accords.
No, I don't think so, because as I understand it, the Bitcoin core development team, they weren't a part of that.
Yeah, well,
were they?
The team is split on it. Some are for it and some are against.
Are they? Yeah. Okay. Because I know a lot of the people in the Bitcoin core development team were kind of sticking their feet in the mud and not wanting to go anywhere on making changes.
Yeah, that's true. Many of the Blockstream guys don't want to make the changes, but Bitcoin.com has released a press release saying that they're cautiously optimistic about the new accord. So let's hope it works out.
Well, as community efforts to resolve these problems have failed, it's necessary to resolve them with a different approach by using subreddit r/BTC instead of r/Bitcoin and running Bitcoin Unlimited. You are casting a vote against the current development team. Learn more at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com. Yes,
it's also a great site just for Bitcoin news, for finding Bitcoin wallets, for buying Bitcoin, for Bitcoin gaming, all kinds of stuff.
It absolutely is, and until these changes get made, call me a skeptic. I mean, like you said, they're cautiously optimistic about this. I mean, for all we know, this new deal's going to fall apart next week. Wow. Hopefully it won't, because there's a lot of money riding on this. These are the big Bitcoin businesses that got together this last week at this consensus event. The big players like BitPay and Coinbase and a bunch of others came together and finally hammered out some kind of a deal that's going to hopefully result in Bitcoin actually being able to scale up to the consumer demand out there in the marketplace. So I want Bitcoin to pull through this. I really do.
Me too.
Because we both have some, but also just because Bitcoin was first, and it'd be nice for it to continue out on top. But the Model T didn't, stay on top forever, and maybe
it's a revolutionary car that changed the world and changed America.
Yeah, maybe
but it didn't stay up on top.
Maybe Bitcoin's in its final days here. We don't know. I mean, it's very strong right now. It's worth much more than the rest of the cryptocurrencies.
The Model T market is still quite good if you've got one
right?
and you keep it running. I mean, it's worth significantly more than you bought it for new.
Yeah.
But it nonetheless, it's not exactly top of the line car technology.
So we're going to have Roger Ver from Bitcoin.com on the show tomorrow night, and we'll see what he has to say about this. Because you and I, Mark, we weren't there. We weren't at the consensus event. We don't really know what happened. We've read a news article about it, but that's about the extent of our knowledge of what transpired. Roger was one of the signatories, I believe, on this new statement, so he should be able to really kind of clue us in as to what's going on and why is this taking so long? Because I want to know why it is they didn't all just go home that night and flip their miners onto the SegWit or the Bitcoin Unlimited or whatever it is that they need to do to make something happen here. Because the longer this takes, the more threatened Bitcoin's market dominance is going to be. It's only at about 50% right now of the entire cryptocurrency market, and that's down from like 85% in just the last 3 months.
Yep. The more centralized solutions are getting legs right now, and that, it's not exactly the philosophy behind Bitcoin.
To the phones, to your calls and thoughts. David in Mobile, listening to WAVH-FM. Hey, David.
Evening, gentlemen. I want to talk about speed limits. I know you were talking about that earlier in the show.
Sure.
But I drive for a living. I'm a courier. I deliver different things around town.
Mm-hmm.
And just from my anecdotal observations, speeding is not the biggest concern or biggest cause of bad traffic accidents, especially on the interstate highway. It's more of other driving styles, like slow people driving in the passing lane on the interstate, or tailgating, that kind of stuff that causes the bad traffic accidents. So if speed limits were truly about public safety and not revenue generation, they have the technology now where they could have fluid and changing speed limits based on the traffic conditions at the time. I live in Mobile.
Conditions.
And the weather conditions. I live in Mobile, where we have a 7-mile-long bridge across our bay, and it gets quite foggy at times, especially during the spring and the fall. So you would want to lower the speed limits, and they do actually have the digital speed limit signs to do that on our bridge. But they would have those digital speed limit signs that they could change all across the country, just depending on weather and traffic conditions. In Mobile, we have the worst bottleneck situation on Interstate 10 in the country because of our tunnel and the sharp curve that comes around it. And one of the biggest factors that causes a backup at that tunnel is people cutting off semi-tractor trailers that are going down the hill in our tunnel before they go up, because
that's bad.
The semi-trailers have to keep a certain distance between the car in front of them to be able to stop safely.
So then the inexperienced driver will say, look at that big area that I can scoot right in, and then the semi-trailer has to back off a little further, and then you got 3 more people that are scooting in, and they just don't understand how truckers have to drive.
And exactly, and then once they get on that incline, they don't have the momentum necessary to keep up the speed on highway speed through the tunnel, so it slows the traffic down to 35 miles per hour or less.
And then everybody complains about the trucks.
The trucks and then the traffic, and we call it tunnel trams down here. So, I completely agree with you guys. And I've actually sat in government meetings where they've lowered the speed limit on highways, and there's no reasonable justification for it other than revenue generation, and these are small town government institutions that are doing it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the easiest thing to do there is that municipality. What is the reason that a municipality should get the money for a speeding ticket? Why not send it to the I don't know. You pick a 1 out of 10 charities or something that is
that'd change things.
Yeah, that would change things dramatically. Then the government wouldn't be economically incentivized to have an artificially low speed limit.
Well, I agree with you there. And an interesting note, in Alabama, of the almost $300 speeding ticket that you get for just regular speeding, the municipality only gets about $30 of that ticket. The rest of its court costs is broken up between different state agencies, like the Crime Victims Compensation Fund and other things, because we don't in Alabama, our state legislature and our state government really dictates, especially in small towns, what they can and cannot do. So they do only get a small portion of that ticket.
David, thanks for calling tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. And by the way, in New Hampshire, it works a little differently here. Only the state gets the revenue from tickets.
So if a local cop writes a ticket, the money goes not to the municipality, but to the state.
Right. And so they don't have as much of an incentive to write a ticket. So a lot of times if you look at the police logs, say like if you go to the Keene Police Department, you get a lot of warnings out there.
I would also say
a lot of tickets.
The most dangerous thing I've seen on the road as a firefighter, texting. You got to put your phone away. It's one thing to get directions or something off of the phone, but looking at reading texts and all this stuff. I mean, we're a texting culture these days. You just got to let it sit because that stuff is deadly. I can't tell you. I mean, single vehicle accidents have gone up and they're deadly.
They're running into trees and
they're running into
else.
trees.
All right, more coming up here. 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live, and it's the live Saturday edition.
Do you know what's lurking in your water? More than 200 contaminants could be sitting there, just waiting for your glass. With a ProPure water filter, start enjoying clean and great-tasting water today. ProPure filters, independently tested, latest water filter technology. ProPure systems do not require electricity and are easy to set up and easy to use. To find out more, visit your authorized ProPure dealer or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Free Talk Live.
You can tell by the way they're dressed, by their demeanor, that these are illegal. Do you understand that they bring in leprosy and tuberculosis?
God, here's the leprosy. Show me the news story about leprosy and not some crackpot website.
Do you understand this is our country and this is about our children?
Wait, stop the jingoistic crap. You're picking and choosing. You're saying that a bunch of murdering, raping lepers are coming across the border.
Oh, yes, they are.
No, that's nuts, Trish. If that was the case, then in fact we would all know about it. I mean, it sounds like the night of the living dead down there at the border, and they're just coming across looking for the brains.
You think CNN and Fox News is going to tell you this? You got another thing coming.
Why wouldn't they? It'd be great for ratings.
By design, it's meant to bring this country.
Oh, now there's a conspiracy behind it, right? You're going to tell me the NWO's behind all this?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Tipping. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin tip returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card Bitcoin tip that's easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets and spending, and returns to the tipper if unused. Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring Simon to the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait on account. Now. Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me?
Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial on in toll free and take control of the airwaves here at 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
And how would you like to help build a better financial system for everyone? Join Dash. Dash is digital cash, a digital money platform designed to replace cash and help people manage their own wealth. Mark, you were just telling me, I think during one of the breaks, that you've been changing your Bitcoin into Dash and then using that to pay for your jiu-jitsu classes, I believe.
Yep. It's been, and I've paid other things with it too. It's great.
Because you don't have to pay the crazy fees with Dash like you do with Bitcoin these days. So it's fast, it's private and easy, and fees are low, and transactions are fast and can even be confirmed instantly. You can pay anyone, anywhere in the world, anytime, for just pennies on the dollar. Dash is decentralized, run by users who earn rewards for helping run the network and make governance decisions. Anyone can invest in Dash and earn rewards for helping run the Dash network. Join Dash and help create a better financial system for everyone. Take back control over your financial future today. You can find out more at Dash.org. There's a lot of momentum behind Dash right now. Go to Dash.org and find out why. As we go back to your calls and thoughts here, Ryan in Kentucky, listening to WKCT in Bowling Green. You're on Free Talk Live with Ian and Mark.
Yeah, I wanted to discuss speed and speed limit options.
Yes, sir.
I've spoken to you gentlemen before, and I'm a big-time libertarian, so I see everything through the lens and the prism of being a libertarian. And I kind of see the speed limit thing kind of being the same thing with, marijuana and a few what we call non-crimes. And that is the laws geared to it should be designed more based on, are you going to harm somebody else? So if you're driving recklessly, I believe law enforcement has an obligation to intervene in those situations.
Yep.
But if you're doing 10 miles over the speed limit and there's nobody around you and you're not putting anybody in danger, these are the sort of things that create a police state or give the image of a police state. And, that image, over time, you kind of become what you look like, if you follow what I mean.
Well, yeah,
so
it's
I
worth,
think the law
it's
should
worth
be
pointing out is that when they stop you for, the going 10 miles an hour, even if they give you a warning, in all likelihood, you've been run for warrants at that point. And if you come back clean or whatever, sure, maybe they'll give you a warning instead of giving you a ticket, or maybe they'll give you the ticket too. I don't know. Just depends on the cop, depends on the state, depends on where you are. But it's kind of disturbing that speed limits are set artificially low, and then when you go what would be the legally prescribed speed because they're artificially low, then they run your warrants and see where you're at and all that stuff.
Well, I wasn't even thinking about that, but you're right. That's certainly true too. So I like the motto: live free, fight for freedom. But I'm just not for, speed traps and all this. And don't get me wrong, the gentleman who spoke earlier about being in Alabama and the 7 Mile Bridge and all that, certainly that's a unique idea. When the weather gets bad, let's use some common sense. Let's have a little faith in humanity and trust that people can self-regulate. Like when it's snowing out here in Kentucky, people, we're just not used to it. It's not like New York, where they get a lot of snow. So people take real caution here when that happens. And I notice they self-regulate.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, hey, what a concept, trust in humanity. And
I think you mostly can. I think that most people are good and they are self-regulating. And the jackball who's going to be doing 100 miles an hour in a wet, slippery situation is not going to be dissuaded likely by the signs on the side of the road.
Yeah, we're up here in New Hampshire, and when we've got a name for people that go fast when the roads are going, when roads are covered in snow. Stupid. I mean, that's all there is to it. It doesn't matter whether you're in Kentucky or you're in New Hampshire. You can't handle your car may be 4-wheel drive, but it isn't. It's the same
magic.
It's the same brakes that everybody else has got.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for your call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom, 855-450-3733. A little bit more here from the story from QZ.com. Plenty of public safety advocates of lower speed limits, however, would disagree with the actions of individuals like Lieutenant Meggie from the Michigan State Police. Just as Meggie can point to the results on hundreds or thousands of roads which have become more safe or equally safe when the speed limit was increased, other researchers looking at data sets of speed limit changes have come to the opposite conclusion and advise that raising speed limits comes with the price of thousands of roadway fatalities. None of these studies mention the 85th percentile principle, which, for those just tuning in, is the idea that the ideal speed limit for a road, if you're going to have one, is one that 15% of the drivers will violate and 85% of the drivers will stay at that limit or underneath. And according to this story, there are, most of the roads in the United States do not adhere to this 85th percentile principle.
That isn't just some principle they came up with. This is what the government says.
It's based on studies.
Yeah, sure.
The other reason speed limits may remain low is, which John Bowman, communications director at the National Motorist Association, strongly insists on, is that cities and police departments use traffic citations as a revenue-generating tool. As Bowman says, when speed limits are artificially low, it's easier to give out citations and pull in fine revenue. And we've all been through these towns. We know, where they are, most people. And, they like to hide the speed limit sign behind a bush or something like that, or behind a tree, and then hide a cop just beyond that.
Or just make it incredibly low, and, move them all over the place so that you're up and down and fast and slow and all that stuff. But if there are if you're thinking of some little podunk town that does this, that just means that they do it more than the rest of the places do it. Because...
Yeah. They all do it.
Across the United States, speed limits are artificially low, as according to the principle that they espouse.
Yep.
Like, if slow speeds are good, then how come they haven't worked up to this point? Because apparently people really don't abide by speed limits because the speed limits aren't, they don't fit what people want to drive on those roads.
Right. The majority of drivers violate them every day, all the time. Due to concern about those speed traps, Missouri passed a law in the 1990s that capped the amount of a town's revenue that could come from traffic tickets. In 2010, auditors discovered that Randolph, Missouri generated 75 to 83% of its town budget from traffic tickets. The tiny town of around 50 residents, which is located near several casinos, employed 2 full-time and 8 part-time police officers, turning it into a speed trap poster child. So, yeah, they literally had 1/5 of the town's population as police officers. Figuring out how common the tactics used by Randolph's police department are around the country is difficult, as it is trying it to a conscious decision to keep speed limits low. Each town or city makes its own decisions, which makes it difficult to know how comprehensively speeding tickets are used as a revenue generator, and further, it's very easy for police departments to defend pushing officers to issue more tickets as a goal intended to further roadway safety.
Safety.
As the LAPD did when it was found in violation of a state law banning traffic ticket quotas last year. In our conversation, Lieutenant Meggie stated he believes speed traps to be a big problem and counter to police officers' real role of alerting dangerous behavior.
Right. Whether they say they have quotas or not, or they have guidelines or whatever it is that they claim, the fact is that police officers are, in many cases, employed for the sole purpose of generating revenue on the roads. And I don't think that that's any reason that any cop ever wanted to put the badge on. That's not the reason they went to criminal justice college.
Yeah.
This isn't what they were trying to do. They're like, hey, you know what I want to be? I want to be an armed fundraiser for the local government.
No, they wanted to stop bad guys.
Yeah, that's what they wanted to do. And now they're just stopping half of the cars on the road, the unlucky half.
Detroit News article about a number of towns ignoring state law by not reviewing speed limits on their stretches of road. The lieutenant said that he believes the communities did so in order to avoid revising speed limits upward. This allows them to keep collecting the ticket revenue on their artificially low speed limits.
They're all artificially low.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. We may have enough time for you if you get on the lines right now. It's Ian and Mark in the studio here on the live Saturday edition of Free Talk Live. We're talking speeding, but you can bring up what you want. 855-450-FREE, like freedom. This is Free Talk Live.
Everyone has something in their lives or just about themselves that they want to change, from trying to lose weight to becoming more motivated at work. Change is difficult, but the good news is no matter what, you don't have to go through it alone. Hypnotherapy can help you remove negative subconscious thoughts that keep you from achieving your goals. Never rely on just willpower again. Contact us at afterhourshypnotherapy.com today for your free consultation, or contact Melvin Marsh at 678-658-8483.
Bitcoin.com is the most unique online destination in the Bitcoin universe. Buying Bitcoin? Do it here. Want to speak your mind to other Bitcoin users? Our forum is always open and censorship-free at forum.bitcoin.com. There's no bigger Bitcoin believers than the Bitcoin.com team. That's why this site is a one-stop shop for everything you need to get into Bitcoin life. You can also play games at games.bitcoin.com. Learn more at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Join me, George Norrie, in Joshua Tree, California, May 19th through the 22nd for the Contact in the Desert UFO Conference, a weekend of in-depth exploration into ancient aliens, human origins, crop circles, UFO sightings, and new evidence of ongoing contact. The conference will feature panels, lectures, films, workshops, and field work with leading experts including me, Dr. Stephen Greer, Giorgio Tsoukalos, David Wilcock, Corey Good, Graham Hancock, Linda Moulton Howe, Jim Mars, Michael Tellinger, Eric Von Daniken, Doc Wallach, and many, many more of the biggest names in ufology. Joshua Tree Retreat Center offers the perfect place for sightings through the clear desert sky. Last year, hundreds saw several real craft up there, as we reported on Coast to Coast. Tickets to Contact in the Desert are available at contactinthedesert.com. That's contactinthedesert.com, or by calling 323-721-1743. That's 323-721-1743.
Would odors, mold, and mildew describe your basement or crawl space? It doesn't have to be that way. Transform them into a fresh, healthy, usable one with the technologically advanced Wave Moisture Control Units. The computerized operation maximizes moisture control and also expels harmful radon, combustion gases, and numerous other pollutants. Dehumidifiers are old technology that do nothing for air quality and waste energy. Wave units are intelligent, self-monitoring, do not need maintenance, and will save you hundreds in electricity. Wave units are still running effectively over 15 years. They've been tested and installed in public and military housing and by property managers nationwide. Buy a unit now, and if your home is not fresher and drier, you can return it for a full refund for up to 12 months. What have you got to lose? Call now. 1-888-618-WAVE. 1-888-618-WAVE. Or visit mydryhome.com. That's mydryhome.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
We've all heard about blockchain assets like Dogecoin, Ether, and Ripple. Bitcoin isn't the only player in the blockchain game any longer. And for those of us wondering how to get our hands on these digital assets, finally, there's a solution. Shapeshift.io allows you to buy and sell between your digital assets and Bitcoin instantly between your own digital wallets. I've used it with ease. Shapeshift.io. There's no account or email address needed. You send them the crypto you want to sell. They send back the crypto you want to buy. It's that easy. Shapeshift.io.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, you may join us right here. If you're already on the line, we'll do our best to get you in, but if you don't get in tonight, that's okay. We got a live Sunday edition of the show. Now, we are going to be interviewing Roger Ver tomorrow night, so that'll start our program, but it'll be open phones after that. And, of course, you can always join us 7 to 10 at night Eastern Time, anytime as well, over at freetalklive.com, where we've got live streams, we've got podcast archives, lots of different ways to listen to Free Talk Live, plus our 160 great radio stations from coast to coast.
Yeah, I think it's bears pointing out that interview with Roger Ver will be about the future of Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And so, in addition, you can support the show by going to amp.freetalklive.com. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. And the idea is that your $5 a month that you can contribute to us, we will take that and invest it into Free Talk Live to get on more radio stations around the country, to bring more internet listeners on board, to expose new people, new ears to the ideas of peace and liberty and freedom. So you can go to amp.freetalklive.com. Please get signed up. We had a great week 2 weeks ago, and it fell off this week. So, help us out. If you like the show, it's $5 a month, and you get perks like access to the AMP-only call-in lines, the AMP-only podcast, and the AMP-only Facebook group.
Also, the Amplifiers got to vote this week on who they wanted to see for interviews.
Also,
you
put that poll up.
Yeah, we're adding in after shows that are going to be Amplifier only. So if you want those that programming, then you're going to have to join the AMP program.
Well, we haven't done that yet, but that's something we've been talking about doing. So anyway, go to amp.freetalklive.com. Well, you presumably wouldn't. amp.freetalklive.com. But maybe you're right. Maybe we could set it up that way where it only goes out via email, and if you miss it, you miss it. So anyway, amp.freetalklive.com. To the phones, to the fun. Elizabeth is in South Carolina, I believe, listening to WRNN. Elizabeth, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi.
Hey there.
That one of the comments y'all made earlier just kind of struck memory in my head, I guess.
Okay.
The traffic revenue that comes with them stopping so many people for different things over the speed limit. I 100% agree that, there should be speed limits, especially through towns where, children or families may be walking. But my town that I actually grew up in has it specifically written, it's 35 miles an hour through the town. And that's fine. Okay, great. But it's to the point of if you go one speed over that mile, then you get stopped and you get this humongous ticket, which honestly, it almost seems like a certain point throughout the month, each month, they have a specific, they stop left and right. Almost as if, there's some type of payment that the town has to make, that they have to get that.
Yeah. Got to pay for all those cops.
Exactly. It's a small town, but they just got new cars a couple of years ago. But it's on 378, which is one of the busiest roads in South Carolina. It is, 378 goes from Columbia to Myrtle Beach, which are two of the most popular places to go. And it kind of sneaks up on you. It's a wide stretch of 378, no towns, no speed limits, 55 to 60, and then all of a sudden 35. And the town's not very big, so you go through it in honestly about a minute or two, and then it goes right back to 55 or 60. So it's really easy to miss that speed limit and to go through that town fast.
Yep.
And they count on it.
Yep, and they can catch you right after that sign, slipping. They've got you because a lot of people see that sign and they're going to start slowing down,
right?
Rather than be at that speed limit when they pass the sign.
Exactly. It's very difficult. I remember, growing up there. Of course, the speed limit got enforced into my head, so I automatically go about 35 whenever I go through any town whatsoever.
Right, that's generally a safe speed to do. I mean, now we've got the GPS devices, which the Waze, for instance, has a nice feature where they actually will show you what the speed limit is on the road on which you're driving, and then show you your speed in comparison to that. And it requires the people who are, on the roads to update. So if the speed limit changes, you have to let Waze know, and they'll likely update it after so many people inform them of that. Very, very handy. Now, Elizabeth, since you did bring it up, there's actually a little bit more here to this story I'd like to share with you, because you brought up the question of, well, what about the children? Okay, it's fine to have a lower speed limit because parents, kids. And the lieutenant in this story that we've been sharing from QZ.com, Lieutenant Maggie of the Michigan State Police, says, quote, "I don't want to lie to people." He says it may make parents feel better if the speed limit on their street is 25 miles an hour instead of 35, but that sign won't make people drive any slower. Maggie prefers speed limits that both allow people to drive at a safe speed legally and that realistically reflect traffic speeds. People shouldn't have a false sense of security or false sense of safety around the roads, he says. So he says, the idea of setting a lower speed limit because children might be around is actually not going to do anything to make people go slower.
Except make children believe they can run around in the middle of the street.
What do you think about that, Elizabeth?
I honestly completely agree with that. You can post whatever speed you want to post, but unless that person actually cares about the people that are on that road or actually cares about the human characteristic of trying to genuinely be a nice person and watch out for others, it's not going to matter. Yep. I've lived on a road before where the speed limit was posted as 15 because it was a dirt road. And I would have my children playing outside in the yard, and people would speed by going, 40, 50 miles an hour on this road that it's kind of like driving in the wet situations. Your car is not, you have the same brakes, you have the same thing. And not everybody, no matter how long you've been driving, no matter how well you can drive, there's a chance that everyone can get into an accident. So it should be common sense that you need to slow down depending on where you are and what type of road you're on, what the weather is like. That should be common sense knowledge.
And you must have taught your kids, right, living right there next to the road, you must have taught them to, hey, you got to be real careful. You got to look both ways. Exactly. Even if the ball goes out in the road, you got to double check, right?
Exactly. My 9-year-old knows that to a T. If we are even walking in town, even if there's nothing coming, that's the first thing he does. In a parking lot, if we're crossing the street, whatever. My 4-year-old is being taught that. So he's learning it. So as far as driving through a town or driving through a neighborhood road, where children might be playing, it's up to the parents to teach the children.
Absolutely.
That you need to be careful because other people are not always watching.
You got to figure that driver doesn't know what the hell they're doing and they're not paying attention. And you have to assume that they are on their phone, changing radio stations, yelling at someone in the back, putting on makeup. They're not paying attention to the road. Elizabeth, thanks for your call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you from the mom's perspective there.
My 9-year-old's kind of a little cop. If I forget to look, both ways, because
that'd be ironic if he grew up to be a cop.
He will not grow up to be a cop, but I mean, he just, he sticks with the rules that he's been taught. So the both ways across the street.
So he's enforcing on you, you mean?
Yeah, he said, "Daddy,
yeah,
you didn't look both ways."
Yeah,
he'll let me know, and then he wants me to keep both hands on the wheel, as though that's going to make the car safer or something like that. And then he'll tell you about the speed limit and that kind of thing. Oh yeah, that's the speed limit. Do you want to slow down? All right, thanks very much. And, I told him that I would always wear my seatbelt since he has to wear his seatbelt, and he's sure to remind me.
Let's go to Skype, where Cognitive Dissident is on the line. Cognitive, you're on Free Talk Live. Hello?
Let's call him Cognitive for short.
Cognitive Dissident going once, Cognitive Dissident going twice. Thank you for the call tonight. Let's talk to Sarah. She's in Albuquerque. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Sarah.
Yes. What do you think about? We only had around 40,000 people killed in auto-related crashes last year. And you're right. Women putting on eye makeup on the freeway doing 70 miles an hour, that's part of it. Yeah. So do you think raising our speed limit is going to reduce our fatalities?
Actually, what they're saying here is yes, according to the studies, that if you don't have the speed limit at the 85th percentile, meaning that 15% of the drivers go faster than it, 85% go at the speed limit or below, if the speed limit is not there, and most of them are not, they're below the 85th percentile, meaning most people are speeding today, then that actually increases the danger on the streets to not only the people who are driving, but also to pedestrians or whatever. So, yeah, having people driving more uniformly and consistently actually helps save people's lives, Sarah.
Well, something, I-25 here, 2 years ago, everybody said, we're doing 70 miles an hour, just raise it to 70. So they raised it to 70 for about a couple months. And you know what they're doing? They're doing 90 miles an hour. So they have to reduce it back to 55.
Yeah, that's not what some of the studies are showing, but I thank you for the call tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow night. You can join us online in the meantime over at freetalklive.com. And I'll put this story up. We got through almost all of it, probably like 90+% of it tonight. But I'll put it up on our Facebook and Twitter, and you can check it out and dig into the citations and the reports and all that. We'll see you tomorrow. freetalklive.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
There's no better app for tracking the value of cryptocurrencies than CoinCap. I've had a lot of apps for tracking Bitcoin, but none that's ever been able to track 500 digital assets at once. Their best feature is the Altfolio. I love this thing. You enter how many Bitcoins, Ether, Dash, Doge, or whatever else you have, and it tells you how much your crypto is worth. You can watch yourself get rich. If you have crypto, go right now to coincap.io, or you can use the Apple Store or Google Play to get the app. I love CoinCap. coincap.io.
You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio-on-demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. Press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message.
The live edition of Off the Air Live is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
From Keenan, the